Say when we're live. And we're live. Hello.
So I said, do you love me? And she said, no, but that sure is a nice ski
love
mask.
you. Yeah.
Cool.
There's this joke that Seinfeld tells in one of those Seinfeld episodes where his girlfriend's saying, like, there's truth in every joke. He's like, what about the guy who saved up all his money and went to Bavaria for this Bavaria cream pie? And when he gets there, they say, we don't have any Bavarian cream pies. He says, I'll just take a coffee. There's no truth in that. I want to know what the start of that joke was.
I like how that's the second time Seinfeld's come up too in the past like 15 minutes. Have you shown off like to your people, your Seinfeld memorabilia? That is the Superman from Jerry's apartment in Seinfeld.
I was saying this is the geek's shoulder mount.
It's cool. Do you have your stuff back, by the way? Your actual shoulder mounts?
No, end of this month.
Mine look great.
Yes, they really
do. It's really cool.
They really do.
Yeah. And my wife doesn't hate them. She was actually, because originally I was going to move some, like one to my office and all this, but she said, no, actually, I really want that springbuck up there by the bathroom. It's kind of cute.
That's when you knew I married the right one, huh?
That's it, man. That is it.
Yeah, so where did you get them taxidermed, and were you nervous that they'd look terrible?
Yeah, they're not. I'm probably not going to use the same guy again, because there was just some little things, like I've got a guy in Maryland who's done a bunch of deer for me. And it's museum quality, like down to he'll put like little like droplets on the hairs around the mouth.
Wow.
Right? It looks like it's been breathing.
Yeah.
And these were good, but when you pay whatever, it's $1,000 a pop or whatever, you kind of want something that looks like it'll be hanging in the museum. You wouldn't notice it unless I was standing there and said, yeah, but look right at the horn and look right over there.
Well, I was lucky because I wrote to Jared, who set up our hunt, and he told me that the best place in the country is not far from here. It's like 4 hours from here. That he always sends people.
So did you
to.
drive them down?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. And they said it'll be done by the end of summer. I'm sure they get really annoyed when people write, "Hey, just checking on my animals,"
but
which is what I've done.
2 years.
Yeah,
right?
it really
and
has.
Think,
it's a long process, eh?
Yeah.
Is that just standard? The people who go and hunt figure it's going to take
normally
this
a shoulder mount is like it's like 6 months to a year. Right,
but
for
it wasn't
a deer.
just that, right? It was the process of getting the animals
and all the USDA, not USDA, the city's certificate, whatever, to make sure that there's no microbe, whatever. We're not introducing any invasive species or whatever with them. But they're cool. They look great. You haven't been in my new house. Have you?
Nope.
Yeah, I've got a room that's just wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling bookshelf, right? And it's great.
Animals.
And a chessboard and a wildebeest. It's
really
great.
great.
It's really
Did you end up doing the thing where you said we're going to have like one cup and one plate per kid?
No, I really want to do that.
I want to do that.
It's such, I don't understand. My go-to now is I just buy a bunch of paper plates when I go to the store. So I can just throw them all away. But it's from Little House on the Prairie. They had, I think there's one of the books, it's Christmas time, and one of the girls gets another cup. And she's so excited because she had to share her cup with her sister for all those years. And that was the inspiration. I'd like to get there one day.
Yeah, I would like that too. We were in Austria recently and we went to a secondhand store. And Cameron said, yeah, we'll just get like each of the kids a cup. And I said, unless we throw all the other cups away or give them all away, this won't work.
Right.
And it didn't work. I'm always right.
I just am disgusted by my opulence all the time. Right. And it's been a while since I've been on. I think it's been about a year ago. And the last time I was on, I was not disgusted by my opulence, even though I was still living, beyond the kings of Babylon. Right. But we were living in that hovel. I told you about my hovel. Did I tell you?
No.
No, we lived in a tenement housing hovel for 2 years while we were building our new house. And
what made it a hovel?
Just the holes and the vermin. And it had two bedrooms, one bathroom, like 6.5 foot ceilings, and it was falling apart. But it was a mile from where I was building my real house that humans should live in. And one night I heard a noise in the kitchen, and I walked into the kitchen. And I grew up in an old house, and every now and then there'd be a mouse in the house or something. We didn't have mice; we had rats.
In this hovel, you had
in
rats?
my hovel on my sink, and it sees me and it runs up under it. And so I went to my bedroom where my wife, who had a baby a couple weeks before, was asleep with a baby in a little bassinet, and I wake her up because I don't live in. I'm not the kind of person who lives in houses with rats, right? I don't think I'm too good to live in a house with a rat, but I'm just ontologically not a person who does that, right? And so I wake her up and we're going to the Holiday Inn. We got to go. And she said, no, we're not, because I just got the baby to sleep and we're going to bed. And so we ended up, the next day, we went and stayed at the cabin where we've gone hunting before. And we stayed there for a month or so. And
Did you try to hunt the rats?
That night, I couldn't sleep. Like, and I'm not trying to be.
No, I wouldn't either.
They weren't they were rats. They were like small dog size. That's an exaggeration, but they were the size of my foot.
Yeah.
I mean, with the tail and everything.
No, I get it. Yeah.
And I know how big they were because I stayed up all night with a pellet rifle and a cupcake that I set as bait, and I popped one of them.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I did. I shot one.
Were you sitting in the dark in a corner on your chair?
Yeah, there was like I had a really good line of sight from 2 rooms away.
Oh yeah.
But I can only see the cupcake and like 6 inches.
Yeah.
And then I'll show you the video later. It's disgusting. Like I'm pacing around my house. I'm picturing, is it Lady and the Tramp when the baby gets bitten by the rat?
I don't know.
In the bassinet? That's all I'm picturing,
Okay.
right? As if they're these like malicious entities, right?
Yeah.
And
who are conspiring together to kill your child.
I have a picture from outside my house looking in of a rat on the windowsill over the sink in my hovel. It's just, I felt so dirty and gross and wrong. So anyway, we moved everybody out, and the rental company came in and plugged a bunch of holes and
that is
all that
really
stuff.
fun. Do you remember that time me and Andrew Puttish killed that mouse together in my house?
Yeah, that was the first animal you killed.
That was
followed by a zebra.
Yeah. On Minecraft.
Yes. Yeah. No, it became like an hour-long expedition. We got it. Didn't we get it? We stomped it? The mouse?
Yeah, we got a broom handle.
We eventually got a hold of it.
I don't know how much YouTube allows you to even talk about killing mice, but that is so funny. I would have loved it if you put like war paint on, sat in the corner. If someone was to look in the house, they would only see you visible from here down because of the light coming in from the window, but up here you're kind of ominous and ready to.
I'll show you the pictures. I took trophy pictures with all the rats that I killed.
I wonder what would happen if you took that to a taxidermist and went, shoulder mounted, please, and please don't screw this up.
I kind of okay. Can I tell this? I'm okay. I'm okay with the world hearing this.
Okay.
We have barn cats. We've always had barn cats, right?
Okay.
And I'm not a cat guy, but I really like these cats. They're outside. You know, we get them as kittens. We keep them in a shed for a few weeks so they get used to where food is, and then they just roam. But they're friendly. My kids pick them up and play with them, and I like these cats. And we had another cat, sort of just a feral cat, come out of the woods and kill one of my cats. Like, it was coming around, we heard the noises, and then we had a dead cat. And I decided that was going to be like my all thrust in life, was going to be to get revenge for my dead cat. And it was an awful, nasty, feral looking whatever. I shot it, and I've got it Euro mounted.
You what?
I've got it Euro mounted, the skull. I mean, it's not like on a plaque or anything, but I have
Very good.
I've got sort of a bookshelf in my house that's got like a little duck on it, and a coyote skull, and a jackal skull.
You probably think the wildebeest is what I'm most proud of.
Check out this cat. Yeah. Ooh, can you pass me you have a torch?
I don't have a torch, unfortunately, but I do have matches.
All right.
You always smoke faster than me, so I thought I'd give you a...
This is not subtle. Yes. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. These are funny. Doing live streams and chats are funny because I wonder if we'll ever get to the point in today's show where we're talking just the way we would talk if there weren't cameras. Probably not.
No.
Yeah. There's always...
I don't think that's like I don't think that's fake. I think that's just prudence.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
I am, and I think it's better. I think it would be better if our personal conversations were more like this, right? I do. Maybe not in regards to subject matter, because there's absolutely stuff that I'll talk to you about in private that I shouldn't be talking about on the air.
Yeah.
But it's good for me to talk to you about it in private. But like, I'm going to be a lot more careful with my language.
Yeah.
I'm not going to allow myself to go down, a joke that I wouldn't tell on air is one I shouldn't be telling anyway.
What's funny about this is, I mean, how many people sit down and chat, turn their phone off, look each other in the eye, and talk for 3 hours? How do people get to do that with Jordan Peterson? Like, imagine any other situation where it's like, could we talk? Actually, I'm sorry, could you stop checking? Could you turn your phone off?
Right.
And just let's sit here for 3 hours and talk.
So, big thank you, a public thank you now, because I got to come up and hang out with the whole Peterson crew and meet Jordan and everything.
Oh, I'd love you to tell people how that went down, because I was up here getting things ready and you got to meet him as he arrived.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. So it's a production, right? He's a big deal. Like, believe it or not, when I come, I just like pull up in my wife's minivan and then we go get gyros. By the way, can I give a pitch to Yorgos right now? This episode of this segment of Pints with Aquinas is brought to you by Yorgos, Gyro, and Potato. Can't legally say that.
They don't
Which
know
is
who
a
we are.
place I made up and is not in downtown Steubenville and is fantastic. Yeah.
It is fantastic.
Yeah. He's not, you said say not sponsor? Not a sponsor. We don't care if you go there. Don't. We don't want you to go there. Yeah.
More for us if it existed.
But anyway, all right. So he shows up. He comes down with his security detail. And here's how you know they're legit, right? Because you're expecting, after like 2 hours of us trying to figure out like where's he going to park and everything, he just pulls up right in front of the building. And security detail, they come out and they're terrifying because they're not terrifying, right? They're not giant. You're picturing 6'8", you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger looking guys who can rip your arms off. And you got like some 5'9" guy named like Dave, right? In a baseball cap. He looks real friendly and personal. And that's so much scarier, right? Right? Because he has that job for a reason.
Because you know it's not that Jordan Peterson can't afford the big guys. Yeah.
He's got the guy who can, kill you with a Q-tip kind of guy.
Yeah.
And there was a British guy who was a driver. He was a bigger dude, but he was cool British. Okay. And I'm just to, I don't know, sling some mud across.
The British.
No, but yeah, there's definitely, I'm sure it's the same with Americans. I just see it less. There's like two brands of British people.
Okay.
There's like James Bond, like cool and collected and whatever.
George Farmer.
Like George Farmer. There you go. Very good. And then there's
hello.
What do they say? Can you say puff? Is that or like a bad word?
Like pufter?
Yeah, I don't know. I was watching a show the other day. They kept referring to like one of those old British mob shows.
Oh, I don't know.
They're just the effeminate whatever. They look like the well-to-do, hoity-toity kind of.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's
like what's that English show that everybody watched that everyone's wives watched?
Downton Abbey.
Yeah, like that.
I never
one?
saw any of that show, but I assume like all those guys are.
All right. So anyway, he's cool, and then I like the bit where he. Because you went down there with our manager, Melanie.
Right.
And I just, what did you say? He just ignored her and went right to you?
Okay, so that's one thing that I thought was so neat about him. And I think he was in private, not jovial, but very warm, if that makes sense.
Peterson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like he's not making this big outward expression of,
hey.
Right, at all. But he's very
I'm
warm.
kind, I'm normal, I'm nice.
He gets out of the car, he's in the backseat of the car. And Melanie's there and I'm there. And he sort of stops and he looks at Melanie and he looks at me and he looks back at Melanie. And then he turns visibly away from Melanie, shakes my hand, like puts his arm on my shoulder with this. It was like, thank you. Thanks for having me kind of thing. He was such a nice guy. It was really cool.
He really, I like that. I like how you put that because you imagine a celebrity is probably tired of being mischaracterized or people saying he's actually not that nice. And so you could see celebrities overcompensating. Hey there. And just being fake. I agree. He wasn't like that at all. He was just very kind and normal. Yeah,
it was cool. And then I hung out and helped him park the car while Melanie took him up and his guy posted up outside the door, which I also thought was cool. He's like, not hanging out with you. I'm going to sit outside this door, stare at my phone the entire time.
We didn't know how many people were going to come because Tammy was supposed to come.
Right.
So it was supposed to be Tammy, him, and so we got like 800 chairs in that next room just in case.
Well, yeah, y'all were worried about it being overcrowded and weird. But it was fun. And then I got to sit right over there and hang out with Father Boniface.
All right, so Thursday, if you can throw up this photo of...
We don't have to do that. We can not do that.
Can we?
We can.
Do you not want to?
No,
I can't tell. I don't want to publicly shame you on our podcast, and then later you're like, Matt, I specifically said I don't want to do it, and you pushed me.
I've never been accused of being hyper photogenic in my life, and I'll apologize to Melanie, all right, if she hears this, because Melanie was very much like, we're doing a group photo. We're not all pestering Jordan for photos. And so I waited until he was signing a wall, and she was distracted. I was like, hey, do you mind? Hey, Thursday. And once again, he was super kind. I want to say that too. I'm sure you've talked about this before, but I feel like he would have hung out afterwards for 45 minutes, right, forever. He was signing stuff and anything else, guys. Are you like, I don't know. It was really neat because my expectations for everybody.
Let me know when it's up Thursday. And you got to. Oh yeah, here's the cue, and then throw it up on this screen. So. Oh, okay. Don't worry. Here, I'll
pull it up. I'd like to look at.
I'll throw it up so they're looking at it right now.
Great, perfect. So like angles and lighting is tricky things. I was excited. I think.
Personally,
Jordan was probably more excited than I was in the picture. Can I see it? Do you have it up there? But are you zooming in for them or is that just for me?
No, for you, because they can see it already.
Okay.
But
he's not a big smiler in general, all right, in private. So, and it also looks like my head is twice the size of his.
now you know how I feel, but mine actually is twice. It looks like maybe you've pressed forward.
It looks like a Make-A-Wish Foundation kind of situation. That's the vibe I get. This was not the vibe the entire time. Jordan Peterson was much warmer.
Yeah, he
was thrilled to be with me.
You can see the two of you like, hey, like, let's take a photo. And then he goes deadpan for the photo. You're like, why would you do that?
Is that a thing he does? Does he not smile in pictures normally?
I don't know.
Eminem never smiles in pictures, maybe.
Who?
Yeah. Eminem. Marshall Mathers from Detroit. Maybe it's the same kind of thing.
I would think that if you're taking 1,000 photos with people after a show, you've probably learned how just to do a regular face, right, so that you don't have to get exhausted.
The hand is on my shoulder because we're friends. Yeah. I got my arm around him. I think.
Because we're friends.
Yeah, it was maybe between.
All right, yeah, I mean, if you're taking photos with people after a show for hours, you're not smiling for all of them. It's exhausting to have to smile for that long.
Can you do Jordan Peterson like smiling? I want to see if he like smiles.
There you go. That's him smiling.
No, that's a grimace. He was grimacing. He always does. He always makes the face he's making when he's with me. Yeah.
But what was funny is you and I were getting coffee the next morning when you first said you look like a Make-A-Wish Foundation kid photo next to him. And you were saying how this is going to bring the conservative world together.
Well, I just love the idea. And I don't know how it snowballed from there, but I love the idea of the news cycle. Like your whole thing, people ignoring the fact that he's on your show. And like a couple days later, just Michael Knowles all of a sudden is like, all right, let's just, I want no context, pull this up. Really? And just a regular series of
right. Jordan Peterson. That's how it started. You were saying Jordan Peterson post this image just to mock you.
And then you
look at this guy.
You've got Ben Shapiro on a show doing like a short, like one of the like a Saturday kind of thing. Being like, hey, listen, Candace, listen. I really just wanted to get us back together one last time because if there's one thing we can agree on, I mean, come on. We're going to take a break from the Hamas stuff. Come on.
Yeah. She retweets Ben Shapiro. You unite the conservative move.
It's not my best. It's not my best picture.
Well, here's what's really funny, I thought, is Thursday, you're going to find this funny. I took a photo. I was on Ben Shapiro's show recently in Florida. It comes out soon. And man, the hateful comments were insane. But someone wrote, Matt, that's a sniper's dream. And I write to you, I'm like, look how anti-Semitic this comment is. And you're like, yeah, that's awful. And then your wife looks at the photo.
And your forehead is like the size of a landing strip in that particular, yeah. It was not anti-Semitic. It'd be really easy to shoot you in the head. It's about my head being so gigantic.
I thought they were doing it because, I mean, in the context of all the other comments saying someone wants to take down Ben Shapiro, wasn't that
right
over the top? But I just love he's making fun of my head.
I'm excited. I'm not to be that guy, but we're friends, and I don't listen to a whole lot of your stuff. Because we have conversations a lot. I'm subscribed, though. Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah. But I'm really excited about the Ben Shapiro one.
Yeah.
From our conversation in the sauna this morning. Like, I'm super pumped about that.
He was great. So I've been to Daily Wire in Nashville, and it's a huge production. I've never been to a gigantic Hollywood set, but this feels like it. And a lot of security, completely unmarked from the outside. You'd have no idea there was Daily Wire. Right. There's not a single Daily Wire sign anywhere. So I went to Florida to be on Shapiro's show, and it's just him in Florida because of his Jewish community.
Right.
And so it's a simple setup, but still, security guy leads you in. I went into the green room to wait to the show to start. I need a green room. That's what I need.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's when people... That's what we have a pigeon that got trapped in one of our rooms and just crapped everywhere.
Did it die eventually?
No, someone Kyle grabbed it and took it out.
Yeah.
But that's where I should just put people.
Don't clean anything up.
Pigeon,
a dead bird in the corner. It's like an upturned milk crate.
You can wait in here for Mr. Fradd. Can I not wait out here on the couch? No, he'd prefer it. You said it. It's just hot and stuffy. You shut the door.
Your bed is unmade.
I got a bed in there. I have a bed in there.
Like weird stains on a mattress in the corner.
Oh, yeah. Can you at least leave the door cracked? No. It's just-
Sorry. The windows are nailed shut. Yeah, you'll be fine. No, but I do
Oh
think
my
that's.
gosh.
I think that's really cool. This is
yeah.
well. I was just thinking about Ben Shapiro, and I was thinking about a lot of the Ben Shapiro hate and all this. And it's first of all, I don't get it, but we were saying this morning in the sauna. We spent just for anybody listening. We did a lot of sauna this morning. All of a sudden, it does feel, and I don't know what this says about our culture, right, or the Western zeitgeist.
Notice I've got my laugh face ready. I don't even know if you're about to make a joke.
I'm not going to make a joke.
I've got my lips ready to go. Okay.
But I feel lame all of a sudden. It used to be like I felt like all of my opinions were these sort of like radical, tough, countercultural.
Yeah.
Like to the right, whatever, sort of these hyper traditionalists or whatever. And now I feel like all my views are like middle of the road. Nobody cares. Nobody's interested.
Yeah.
And I'll even say stuff to like kids in the classroom, like, oh, they're going to get I'm going to get some like oohs and ahs about this one. And everybody's like, yeah, no, that makes sense, Mr. Spann. Like, I want to be cool. I want to be on the edge, but I don't want to like just fake it, right? I don't want to just take some radical women shouldn't be allowed to drive, right?
Yeah.
Some stupid, ridiculous view just to be cool.
I don't know what that is.
Is that a note?
He sometimes does this, but good luck reading it.
JH, please sit still. Matt, please stop banging the table. And then he drew a heart. He gave us both hearts. All right, I'm sorry.
That's nice. 2 love hearts. All right, you sit still. I'll stop banging the table. No, I know what you mean. It feels like both on the left and the right, your opinions have to be increasingly aggressive just to have a place at the table. And if they're not, or if you try to moderate your side in any way,
right? Yeah, you're the bad
called
guy.
all sorts of names. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to move this fan so it blows that smoke away.
I'll go for it. Yeah, this is something that I bring up a lot. I'm sure I've talked about it on your show before. But what's really neat to me with young people, right, with Gen Z or Gen Alpha, whatever, whoever comes after them, is that because the sort of
Still laughing about the pigeon. I'm sorry. Keep going. Yeah, young people. maybe there's still a pigeon in there. It's just wounded and hungry, so can't move.
Yeah, the video.
Sure, if you want to put it on. Guys, Mr. Fradd's not ready.
We can't hear you. Stop knocking. Lock from the outside.
There's a pigeon in here. Why do I do it? I always do an American accent when I take up other people because I'm surrounded by them.
Anyway, I was just saying, like, it's neat to be living in a time where the cultural like the left won totally and completely the culture. They won Hollywood, they won politics, they won everything, right?
Yeah.
And I just love the fact that now these young people who have this real desire to rebel, right? The pride flag is being waved by their overweight 47-year-old math teacher, right? Isn't that beautiful? Like
Jennifer.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just cool. I just think it's neat.
It is really cool.
I'm super heartened. Like, I feel really good. I'm really optimistic about the next, 50 years. I feel like we're going to be moving in a better direction.
I am too. I just don't want Christianity to be a reaction against the left. So I don't know about you, but my encounter with Christ was this personal one where I became aware of my sinfulness, had my sins forgiven, knew that there was purpose to life. I wanted to then study the scriptures, like love people, bring them to Christ, things like that. My fear is that there's going to be young men and women who just become Christian because it's based or something, but they don't actually have that personal heart relationship with Christ. They don't read the scriptures and things like that.
Like, I feel like that's...
See? What? I just did what I said you get mocked for online. Like, I'm trying to moderate and be like the... Yeah, it's kind of gay. It's not gay. What I'm saying isn't gay.
No, I think Viktor Orban, right? The Hungarian guy, President of Hungary. He gave some great thing about how I don't remember if he wrote it or whatever. So I heard that this guy said this thing about how our culture is going to be Christian, and if you're just going along to get along in public, that's fine. But that's what we're doing. So like, get on the train. Oh. I think that's super cool. I think that like if they're doing it for the wrong reasons, okay. Like cultural Catholicism is better than whatever the hell we're doing right now.
I'm glad that my children and everyone I know's children are rebelling towards conservatism. Like they want to get married, they want to have kids. I agree with that. I just don't want Christ to be forgotten. And you're like, no.
That's not, no. That's so funny. I'm just saying it's better than, right? Yeah. It's a better situation than.
It's funny because you always try to sort of self-assess. How am I doing as a parent?
Right.
But, I rebelled as a kid in the same way that everyone else rebelled in Australia and probably America, right? Like towards F tradition and to whatever, sleep around and all that stupid stuff.
While everyone else was also rebelling in the exact same way. Right. We all like had a very branded rebellion.
Yeah.
It was so gross.
Yeah.
It was.
But my point is just that if I was raising my kids back in the 80s and 90s, I wonder if they would have just went down that road, even if I was parenting them the same way I'm parenting them now. And it just so happens that kids
are lucky with the culture.
Yeah, exactly. Kids are born into an epoch, and then they gravitate one way or the other. And it may have less to do with me and my wife that I would like to think.
My issue is not that I rebelled. It's just how I rebelled and how lame it was. Right? All these like desperate attempts to be badass were just like warmed over, cliched, whatever. Right? And you gave me the quote forever ago. It's the Russian guy who says we Russians may be wicked, but at least we are interesting. Yeah. You Americans are so boring. Even your sins are boring.
Yeah, even your sins are boring.
And my sins were so boring.
Yeah. You know how boring masturbation is?
It's...
Because I sometimes say your sins are the least interesting thing about you.
Right.
Unless...
You do them on camera, and then nobody would stop talking about it.
Or unless you're trying to, like, rob a bank or lead a coup. Like, okay, then, no, those are pretty interesting. Yeah. But if you're just, like, masturbating...
Right.
Yeah, that is kind of...
Yeah. Back in the day, people went to hell for being a part of a Viking crew that raided some monastery and burned it to the ground and killed all the monks. Evil. Still cool. Like, interesting, right? Yeah. Evil. It can be evil and cool. And now we're going to have people going to hell because they're masturbating to their iPhone while their wife is asleep. Oh. Right? Yeah. And I'm not saying the other one's, like, worth it at the end, but I'm saying, once again, it's interesting. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, someone reading at your funeral, like the eulogy, way cooler that you were a Viking who destroyed a monastery than Jeff was super into touching himself.
I don't think that's what they do at eulogies. I don't think that's part of it.
No, but he was passionate, and that's important. You got to be really into something. All right, here's the pigeon video. So this is, okay, I need to give, I don't know what's behind this door, just so everybody knows, real quick before you play it. When I was living in Austria, I would come back for 1 week or 10 days and I would record 800 interviews. And so I ended up sleeping in my office. So we're probably going to see my bed. I don't know if this I'm going to regret.
Just play it. Just play it.
Anyway, a pigeon got in. That's the point. A pigeon. You're also going to see Jordan Peterson in the corner.
That's what I was going to say. Picture Jordan Peterson.
See it? There it is. Oh. Look at him. Just hanging out. Now, the problem was he got in a different room, so there's no opening in that room.
How you're opening just a little bit. Well, and I know you're doing it so to get out there. It looks kind of like to stay safe.
It was to stay safe.
That poor bird. I'm actually pro pigeon. I really like the pigeons.
I've decided I'm pro whatever you're pro. Because I find that when you tell me something's cool, all of a sudden I'm saying it's cool.
Well, listen.
I'm very easily influenced.
Ladies and gentlemen at home, pigeons. That's where it's at. Badass. Look at that bird.
Yeah.
They probably still can't see it, but...
No, I remember you once said pigeons were cool, and now that's my line.
Great.
You have way too much influence on me. I'm embarrassed. Speaking of how much influence you have on me, I wanted to share this. This was really funny. I love that. I'll let you explain this in a minute, but you once told me that, of course, you don't let the people at Costco check your receipt. You want to explain why, and then I'll tell you my story?
Great. So, and pretty much everybody disagrees with this, right? And I get all the arguments, and I don't care what the arguments are. I don't care if there's an illogical position. It's my position, and I feel really strongly about it.
Because you don't hate the Jews, you have to find more radical opinions in niche areas to be cool.
Really clear Costco. That I'm a big fan of the Jews, not a big fan of Costco, I think it's disordered in the highest magnitude. that I have to let somebody check my buggy, right, my cart, after I've already paid for the stuff because I own it. And I get it. It's a club. Those are all the stupid arguments. Nobody cares, right? I own the things in this cart. They are my things, and you can't look at them. I don't shop very often. I don't go shopping very often at all, but I refuse to let them do it. In the same way, I can't be like, hey, man, I wonder if you got any stolen crap in your car. I can't like pull you over on the side of the road and dig through your car because you own the car. Right. And so once they're in the basket and I paid for them, they're mine and nobody can look at it. And I don't care if the sweet old guy who retired after a long, illustrious, successful career and raising all of his children just wants to see people. So he's a greeter at Costco and he checks receipts. Screw that guy. He can't. I'm bigger than him. I'm faster than him. And I go through the door. Yeah. And I say thank you or no thank you as I walk quickly down the parking lot. Yeah.
So here's another example of you influencing me. So you told me that. I'm like, that is brilliant. I guess I'm going to have to do this. So my first attempt was at Walmart. And
Walmart's easy. Walmart's the easiest one to do it at.
I know. So it goes Walmart, then Costco. So we're going to go up. So I walked past and I just, fresh off this conversation with you. But unfortunately, I was super awkward about it. I wasn't cool. Like, I was like, no, thank you. This is my stuff. Instead, I was like, no, look, because here's, and then I'm trying to regurgitate some of your arguments like she cares. Like, I wouldn't ask you if I could look at, and I just left awkwardly. But I was still proud of myself because I did it.
She didn't check.
She didn't look. Then the second time I was with my wife at Costco and we have a whole trolley full of stuff. And there's people in line. That's the other thing that's awkward. It's not like I'm walking through and there's no one ahead of me. There's like 10 carts ahead of me.
Like in line, like following the rules, yes. Waiting to be checked out.
And I said to Cameron, okay, follow me. Don't say a thing. Don't speak to the lady. We
beautiful.
Are going to go out straight through. And if she says something, just let me respond. She's like, okay. So I just pushed right
bride.
ahead.
It's a beautiful thing.
And I got 2 Costco. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. And no, you can't look at it. Sorry, it's my stuff.
That's the way to handle it.
And I'm saying to my wife, keep walking. I think someone may have followed us for a little bit. But then we got in the car and left.
I think the worst thing that can happen is they like revoke your membership. Right? Like what? Because it's not illegal to walk out of Costco. I can do that whenever the hell I want. I'm going to do that after the show. Yeah,
that's a good point.
I have such this like natural contrarian streak in general. There's like a problem. Like I get that. I am making people's lives actively harder for no reason other than some distorted sense of I don't want to do this because you said I have to do this. And it's really frustrating. Like it's been a problem for a lot of my it drives my wife crazy because she's much more of a rule follower than I am. But
I think most people are.
When COVID happened, I was actually like early on that like 2 weeks to slow the spread. I thought this is great. Gonna have a staycation. We did some work around our little farm.
You and I watched that movie together.
We watched Contagion together, and then literally 48 hours later, the next time I saw your face was on YouTube, like looking sick, saying, "I think I have COVID.
I think I've got a case of the
After
COVID."
Watching Gwyneth Paltrow's face be peeled off because she's the patient zero. But anyway, and then the day that Governor Brian Kemp, right, the governor of Georgia, announced that we were closed, like nobody needs to go anywhere. We're closing down the state. Only necessary, essential, whatever. I literally like woke Angie. I was like, well, I gotta go to the store today. Like I'm gonna go do all these things today that I don't even want to do. Yeah, I killed a really big turkey that day too. That's pretty great.
Now, another thing that you do that I like that I've never. I don't think this is something I'll follow you in just because it's such a hassle. Is that you don't allow people to X-ray you at airports?
I've never once been through the body scanner. Yeah, I don't do it.
Tell me how that works, and what's it like when you go with your wife?
Well, you've been with, haven't you been with me through?
That's funny. I guess we have. Yeah, we've been to Africa together. We've been to England.
But I'm fine with a metal detector, whatever, that's fine. Yeah. But I won't do the body scanner because I think that's weird. It feels like it's an invasion of privacy. I saw a thing early on when they came out, and I think the article, it was like a WAPO article or something, and it said, "Yes, we can see your body. Yes, we're laughing at you," and that just sealed it to me. So I don't let my wife do it either. You just go up there and you say, "Hey, I'm not going in that," and they say it. Well, actually, they usually say, "Sir, it's just whatever waves and whatever." I said, "No, it's not about that. I'm not going to go in that." And they give you a pat down. Like some guy shoves his thumb in your waistband and goes up, moves over, the rest of the way, and then back and forth. It's uncomfortable, but he's uncomforable too. And
do you know how to punish people for doing that? By liking it way too much. That's good. Oof. Thank you. Do you want to check that again?
Make sure. Yeah. Are you sure there's nothing there? No, I was, I also just hate TSA with like a passion. And if anybody is like a follower, supporter of your show.
I want
or
you to be
whatever.
clear, I hate you.
I want to make it super
Yeah,
clear.
just in
Like,
case-
I'm not accepting you.
Yeah, yeah.
Like every single one of them.
Yeah.
I've never once.
I'm not
had a
saying
good
I hate
experience.
what you have to do. I'm saying you specifically.
It is the definition of sort of the gross, petty tyrant, whatever. I've never had a good experience. I think it's so unnecessary, right? Like, I feel like, never mind, I can't say that on
I think I know what you're going to say. Should I say it?
Maybe, I don't know.
Here's what you're going to say. On Minecraft, it would be, in Minecraft, thank you. In Minecraft, it would be better to have several planes falling from the sky and the rest of Americans not having to do this. Like, that would be worth it. That's what you're going to say.
That's not what I was going to say. That's pretty messed up, Matt. I'm going to take more of a middle road approach. I think it's, they made the attempts to get through the materials or the bombs or whatever. I think it's super easy, and nothing they do prevents you from doing
I got a
that.
feeling that's not what you were going to say.
I definitely didn't want to say that I wanted Skyliners crashing to the ground so I don't have to get patted down by some overweight 47-year-old who's never felt a woman's love. Right? That's not what I was trying to say. I do hate the TSA, though. I really hate the TSA.
Do you have another?
You want me to just go through other lists?
I
of
do.
people
I
don't
want the
like?
rest of the show to be you going through a list of things that you don't do that other people do.
I don't know. I've got I have a real thing for like types of people who are allowed to have certain jobs. I'm not going to go through all of them, but we've talked about this. There's one we can all agree on. And if you don't agree on this, right, it's a personal flaw. Everyone who works at a sushi restaurant should be Asian. I don't care if they're Japanese.
Right.
Right. They can be, Vietnamese. They can be from Lagos or wherever. Not Lagos, as in Nigeria. Laos.
I need everybody to know that what he's sharing with you is the absolutely least offensive thing that he otherwise would say if the cameras weren't on.
And like obviously, I've had many a dining experience ruined because it was the incorrect racial makeup of that type of food.
Filipinos okay?
Yes, yeah. It's just the ambiance thing. But in the same strain, right?
Yeah.
If I go to
to show you that I'm equal.
If I go to a barbecue place, right, it needs to be an overweight white guy or overweight black guy. Barbecue, right? Yeah. I would be very upset if there were a bunch of Mongolians working there.
Come on, that's too safe.
And we all agree on that. Everyone agrees. They do. I think that's common sense. You want common sense laws in this country? Those are the kind of things we need to be pushing for.
That reminds me of Brian Regan's line. He's like, you know who I feel sorry for? Arab Americans who legitimately want to get into crop dusting. Can I have some pamphlets on crop dusting?
I don't know. So one thing that, just to make it a little more serious, that when we were talking about what we wanted the show to be about.
I don't want to
do that.
serious
You don't want to do
now.
about that? Okay.
This reminds me of, you ever watched Jiminy Glick? You know that fat guy in the suit? Jiminy Glick? Do you want to show that photo of Jiminy Glick? He's terrific. I'm so excited to show you videos of Jiminy Glick.
I don't know Jiminy
He's an
Glick.
interviewer who wears a fat suit. I forget, Martin Shaw, I think. Is it Martin Shaw? Is that his name?
I really like Martin Short.
Yeah, so he dresses up like a
He's
fat
a character.
guy.
He's one of Martin
and
Short's
interviews
characters.
people. That's all we're going to do for the rest of the day. There's like
Great.
about 20 or 30 episodes of this. I can't wait to show you.
Jiminy Glick.
Yeah, so anyway, he's interviewing people, but as soon as they kind of get serious, he gets bored and changes the subject. This guy,
I have seen.
he's so funny.
I have seen Martin Short as that guy. So I do want to do a pitch real quick.
Okay.
Not a sponsor of the show, but the reason I'm in Steubenville right now, and the reason that I'm able to do this is because my bride and my brood are over at Catholic Family Land, which everybody should go to.
I completely agree.
Everybody should go to. It is so hokey and campy and cheesy in all the best, most beautiful, wonderful ways ever. And once you got to embrace that. You got to show up, and it's almost like it's kind of like when Mormons come to your door.
Okay.
Right. And at first you're like, oh my, you're just this, like you're a cartoon character of a person, right? Nobody's actually like this. Nobody's actually this. And then if you invite them in, they just are really that friendly and wonderful.
Yeah.
I really like the Mormons.
Yeah.
And they're wrong about everything theologically, but I like the Mormons a lot. The community and all like family values and all that. But that's how it is at Catholic Family Land. You get there and you're at a place called Catholic Family Land.
And there's not one roller coaster.
And everybody knows the songs, right? And they're all like clapping and it's all these things that just put off all those cheesy alarm bells in our brain. But I think that happens because we're just cynical and jaded.
I agree.
And it's really this wholesome, beautiful, good thing.
Yeah.
And so we love it. It's the 4th year that we've gone, and it's right up the road. It's like 20 minutes from here.
Yeah, it's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah, there's hundreds of families who go. There's Holy Mass and the Rosary every day. The kids do kind of Bible stuff, camp, whatever they call it.
And it's
or catechism because we're
it's from
Catholic
little
and we don't read
guys.
the Bible.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's all the way from like little bitties all the way up through like college kids who have a blast. One of the girls who's there is the family who's a friend of ours who got us started going there to begin with. Their daughter is, she just graduated high school and she loves it. She gets so excited about it every year. My kids are so pumped. And I've got like a middle schooler who's starting to act like a middle schooler. He's super excited and super into it.
What do you mean by, I think I know what you mean by campy and cheesy in all the right ways? Because what would campy and cheesy mean in all the wrong ways?
So when I talk about like cheesiness and campiness, I think these are just synonyms for like inauthentic, right? Like I'm a don't do drugs PSA from the 1980s kind of thing. And maybe speaking down to the people a little bit, and you're just sort of putting on this mask, this fake, you know?
Yeah.
And that's not what it is, right? The fact that it's authentic is what makes it not cheesy, I think. I don't know. That's my kind of spitball definition.
I've had this thought for a while that sarcasm and cynicism go together.
Yes, sure.
Because I remember when I was in Uganda meeting these wonderful people and preaching there, and they were just so beautiful, and there was no sarcasm. Like it didn't exist. I don't even think they knew how to do it. And also there was a lot of things that Americans would consider as cheesy.
Right.
But I think that
Like
is
what?
because maybe just the way they prayed and the songs that they used and things like that.
Yeah.
And I legitimately would find them cheesy.
Right.
But there's something kind of beautiful that they don't. I wonder even if there's places in the world where they don't have words like campy and cheesy and cringy.
Sure.
It's not because things can't be that. It's just when things are so innocent, it sort of rubs us the wrong way because we're so jaded. And
So our mutual friend, Mike Verlander, right? Great
guy.
Such a great guy.
I feel like he's come up every
Better
episode.
than I'm ever going to be. He was talking about, I don't know if they did a mission trip to Haiti or something. I don't remember what it was, but he was talking about all the Americans talking about how beautiful it was that these impoverished communities in Haiti, they had one really nice set of clothes, a nice suit, and they wore that to mass.
Yeah,
isn't that great? And the same people who will look at you like you're some sort of a pretentious jerk if you wear a nice outfit to mass.
Interesting.
Right? And he's like, that's really infantilizing these people and saying like, we're above that. We're above having to, right?
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Brian Holdsworth had a video where he made the case for dressing well for mass. And I thought the way he made it was an excellent argument. He said, you probably have a nicer set of clothes at your house. Might not be the nicest, might not be as nice as you would like, but you probably have a suit or a suit jacket or nicer pants. Why do you have those? Well, then the answer is obviously
Special occasions.
Special occasions.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now what is Holy Mass? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm also guilty. I'm trying to like work this out in my head right now because I 100%, if I see a guy in a 3-piece suit and tie who looks really sharp at mass, my immediate reaction is, oh, who are you trying to impress?
You
right?
know what I think it is? I think immodesty, we think of immodesty and we usually think of a woman wearing too little.
Right.
But immodesty can be just doing something that's out of keeping with everybody else.
Sure.
In a way that makes everybody else feel awkward. You know, so if you went to a soup kitchen and wore a 3-piece suit, that seems to me immodest.
Yeah, that'd be pretty messed up. Yeah.
If you go to a wedding and you're wearing maybe something that's a little too niche, like a straw hat and I don't know, maybe you've got a monocle, something like that, you know?
Right.
It's like, okay, that makes everyone else feel uncomfortable. So maybe there would be a setting where that would be appropriate.
And is that because it draws the attention to you
I think so.
as opposed to what the attention should be drawn to? Yeah.
I think so. I was having this chat with Jacob and Mom recently, and I was saying when I was a kid, if you had a tattoo, like you probably wouldn't be hired, or you were told at least to cover it up, and please, if you're a man, get your earring out. And that's good, and I'd like to see more of that. But there's something to be said, okay, now what if you live in a society where everyone has a tattoo?
Right.
Well, okay, now I'm not making other people feel as uncomfortable as they would if they didn't have tattoos, so maybe there's an argument for why it should now be allowed to be seen or something.
I'm anti-tattoo.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not actually anti-tattoo.
I have the exact
I'm just
opinion
so
as you.
bored
Yeah.
by tattoos. If nobody had tattoos, and you had I would think that was really cool.
Yes.
Right? Like the old school guy, you'd have only the sailors because they were somewhere in Polynesia and got some cool whatever. It was super cool. But now that you just paid $80 like at the tattoo parlor up the road and everybody's got them, I just think it's uninteresting.
It is. No,
Right?
I say that the people without tattoos are the new people with tattoos.
Right.
So like you're cooler for not having them. And I'm someone who has one.
Yeah.
So I feel like I can talk about this.
Where'd you get the tattoo?
I did the Marian consecration, I think it was in 2008. And I got it in Ireland. But no, I agree. Like I keep seeing these women and I think you would be beautiful, but you've kind of ruined that part of your body.
Right.
Why would you do that? And the same thing with men. And again, like I got fellas on the show who've got tattoos everywhere and I love them and they probably have an argument for why it's okay. And like you, I'm not saying it's intrinsically wrong.
Yeah, I think there's a moral issue.
You know, unless you're putting some satanic thing or sexual thing on your body, obviously, then it would be. But I think I would like, and I say this knowing I'm going to maybe offend people I love, I would like to bring back a bit of, it's kind of gay to get a tattoo. You shouldn't. It's sort of ugly and you shouldn't do that.
I don't think I don't think the vast majority of people are doing it for this reason. But I feel like it was born out of this rebellious, cool thing.
Yeah.
Like, look at me, look at how, and that's totally been defeated now.
That's right.
Father Mike Schmidt has a tattoo.
Exactly. Now you're just part of the, there's a line from Jack Johnson. You remember him back in the early aughts?
Country singer?
No, he's a sort of a rhythm Hawaii blues kind of. Not blues,
Oh yeah, he did the music for the Curious George movie.
He's got this one line. He says,
"It's a great movie, by the way."
Teeny bopping disco queen, she barely understands her dreams of belly button rings and all those kind of things, symbolic of change. But the thing that is strange is that the change has occurred, and now she's just a part of the herd.
I'm almost as impressed by your ability to rattle that off as.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Though?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this was meant to set you apart as somehow, but now everyone's doing it, and you just kind of look like everybody else.
I want to talk about what we were talking about in the car earlier.
Yeah, I forget what that was.
On the way to
let's do it.
Not sponsor of Yorgos, Gyro, and Potato. You were in line for confession yesterday.
Yeah.
And there was a guy.
Oh.
And
I wish you hadn't have set it up that way, because what if he watches it? Maybe it's good for him.
yeah, well, no, but none of this is an insult to anybody. And can I tell that story?
Yeah,
I think I did. There was a guy who kept making a lot of noise, right? Like hacking sort of coughing noise. And it was super off-putting, right?
Yeah.
And then I shared...
Let me lay it out. So I'm in a very small church going to confession. And there was an individual who was blowing their nose extraordinarily loud, like sniffing in, not blowing, like sucking it back in very loud. Mm-hmm. And I had to confess wanting to punch him in confession, which is ironic given that the sins I was confessing were way worse than actually making that sound.
Right.
So Lord, help me to see my own sin and not to, judge my brother. But I think our point was, like just like we need to tell our kids, please don't act like that. We should have friends that were like, you will not find a wife if you think this is acceptable. It'd be one thing if you were 80, but you're like a 25-year-old man doing this around other women.
We said that too. I think it does have to do with your station in life in a certain way, right? If you're 80 years old, like you burp in public or whatever, nobody cares. Right? You earned it. You get to do that, right? You found a spouse. You've raised children. You want to be a little like off-putting.
Disgusting. That's okay now.
But I see a lot young, single Catholic men. It's usually men. I think I'm just much more sensitive, right, to men who. Their lack of social IQ and how they not necessarily how they act, that too, but how they present themselves. And you really do, you want to grab these guys and say like, hey man, listen, the hair's not coming back. You're 28, stop doing the comb over. You gotta start washing your clothes better. That beard looks terrible. You should shave that thing off. Like, do these things to be presentable, because a lot of these guys I think are really, really good dudes who are trying to be good people, who want to be fathers and husbands and all these beautiful things, but are making everybody like not give them a second chance in anything, not just romantically, but also like, I don't want to be friends with some guy who doesn't look like he takes care of himself. Mm-hmm. And that's it's almost an impossible task, because I don't want to go talk to that guy, right? I can think of a couple of people who in circles that I run in that same boat, and I don't want to say, hey man, like you're embarrassing. The girls don't like it. I say that to my kid. That was one of the greatest gifts my mom ever gave me. Big shout out, love you, mama. Was every time when I was an obnoxious, tween and teenager, she would on a regular basis be like, stop talking in that voice, or stop doing that thing. Nobody likes it. Yeah, you look weird. You're being weird. And I think that's okay. I think like the self love has gone way too far, right? Is it don't just follow the you do you thing, right? You're looking weird, you're off-putting.
Yeah.
If you want to be a normal person.
Now I'm going to do this thing where I come in and try to moderate what we're saying, and you're going to go, but here we go. Like, you don't want to shame your kid. Like, you don't want to correct them and embarrass them in front of other people. Like, I think that's inappropriate.
Not in public.
Yeah.
Not in public.
Yeah.
No, I totally
You
agree
want
with
to kind of pull them aside and be like, hey, don't do that. It's off-putting.
Yep.
You please stop doing that.
Something else with kid stuff. I had a dad who was sharing this with me not too long ago. Thought it was really interesting. We were talking about young girls, it's beach season, right? And how immodest bathing suits are or whatever. And he has beautiful, poised, modest daughters, right? And so I was asking him, like, I got all these daughters, right? How do you, whatever? And he said, start them with modesty. Don't let your 2-year-old go to the beach. I mean, and he said 2-year-old, right? In like the two-piece, whatever, and then wear the little booty shorts around the house because she's 2 and there's no, right? But set that standard really early. And then he said, don't let your daughters leave the house in something you wouldn't let your wife leave the house in. And I thought that made so much sense, right? Obviously. Yeah, I feel like we shy away from so many conversations because it's uncomfortable and awkward. I think that's a huge disservice. I know I do that. Like that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's because if you're letting your children, even when like 8 or 9, dress in a way that you would never let them dress if they were 15, then it's going to be kind of whiplash to your kid as their body starts to develop, and now it's inappropriate. Yeah, I agree.
Well, and I feel like it
shorts have become so short.
Oh, they're awful.
First of all, I don't think any man should be wearing shorts on an airplane. I don't think that's a controversial statement. I'm okay with shorts, but
I want to hear your thoughts on short shorts on men in general.
Okay, so well, I'm okay if you wear short shorts at a gym or if you're playing a sport. I'm okay with all of this, or if you're going to the sauna. But please, if you're going to sit on an airplane, your quads should be covered.
Right.
There was a fella next to me on the airplane, and he had his legs crossed, and I could almost see his underwear. And this is unacceptable.
Why?
Because it's disgusting to see.
That's fair. Okay.
At the legs.
Right.
I'm also not okay with overweight women wearing short shorts. They should be told by their parents, stop doing that. Because they sit down and it doesn't look like they're even wearing anything.
Well, and the crop tops too. Like obviously, I think crop tops are more or less immodest if you're wearing them in public always. Right. I'm trying to think of a situation where that wouldn't be true.
But if your body is disgusting, don't show it off like that.
But there's a second element where, like why are you even doing this?
Like if you've got a great body, still don't wear it.
I understand why you're doing it though, if you've got a great body.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
Like, and you sometimes see men and their guts is actually hanging under their shirt. Yep. Like you can see their guts hanging out.
Right.
You should feel a kind of healthy level of shame for that. Tuck an undershirt in so the world doesn't have to see that.
That's the Seinfeld thing too. You remember when they're on the subway and there's the overweight naked guy sitting on the subway reading the newspaper, and he's like, "Dude, you gotta put on some clothes." And he says, I'm comfortable with my body. And Jerry says, that's the thing. You shouldn't be.
Yes,
right?
Yes. But because we are seeing a lot more of this than we did in the 90s and 80s.
I think, and once again, I feel like such an old man complaining about
we are. That's our prerogative. We're allowed to complain about the world now. We're old.
When I go to the beach, it's really uncomfortable. I feel really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because you have all these girls, once again, some of them really young girls prancing around.
Dressing worse than a whore.
Right. And I spend my whole time worried about being seen as creepy, right? Because parading in front of me constantly are all these girls who are wearing almost nothing, right? And the worst thing I think you can be labeled as a man is creepy. Like it's worse than any other thing, like scary, dangerous, whatever.
Yeah.
But creepy is like the kiss of death. I would rather be called pretty much anything but creepy.
Yeah.
I'm going to the beach for the
I would like to see time. Sorry, I'll get back to that, but I want to see women calling other women onto this, and in a way that's I keep having this conversation. Men's conferences, you've got a man up the front telling you suck as a dad and you need to be better.
Right.
I want to see women at women's conferences telling women you're not a good enough wife. You need to be better.
The
problem isn't that you're not understood. The problem is that you suck and need to be better.
Right.
But I just don't know if women like to be told that.
I suffer from that too. I give a lot of the talks I give are boys only talks, and I really prefer the guys only talks.
Yeah.
But I was giving a talk at UGA a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And I opened it with that. I was like, I just want to air my biases. Normally, guys, I will stand up in front of a group of guys and say like, you are not a man. You think you are. You're a grown boy, and you're never gonna be a man unless you do this, and really just beat them up because I like that. I like getting beat up like that. Sort of bearing my problems to me. And the girls, it's like, and ladies, you've been done wrong by the world. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Right? And you're princesses of heaven and whatever. But that's doing them a disservice. It really is.
Yeah.
Because I do naturally blame society's problems on men. But I don't think that's true. And I think that kind of infantilizes women.
Yeah.
It's almost like takes their agency away. I'm not doing that on purpose, obviously, but that's sort of the thought is that,
like when
ladies, you're having this stuff done to you by these big mean guys and you can't do anything about it, which is a lie. They can't.
Stephanie Gordon has this line, when you say happy wife, happy life.
Oh.
She says her eyes roll back into her head and she falls over. But the problem is it's so demeaning. Mm-hmm. You're saying women are petulant children and you need to like keep them satisfied so they won't make your life hell. Do you know how insulting that is to women?
I was really, for the first time in a long time, Father's Day Mass this year, the homily was not some version of this boomerist happy wife, happy life. Remember the two most important words a man can say? Yes, dear. And I was so happy to have a solid homily that actually addressed like fatherhood and masculinity.
How did it go?
I don't remember. I just remember it was good.
Well, that's really inspiring.
But yeah, I think that
if you're a woman watching this right now, let us know what you think below. Like, we're obviously disadvantaged in what sense. So tell us in the comment section.
Or where we can find women who will say those things to women. I teach a theology of the body class, and I bring in a woman probably once a month or so to do like a breakout with the girls. And sometimes I'll bring in a woman to do a breakout with the boys, right? Mm-hmm. So they can hear a woman's perspective. The girls can talk about things that would not be comfortable to talk about with me in the room. And I've got a gal who does a really good job of
here we go.
Oh wow.
Do we have you can put in the live chat. We're looking at the live chat right now. So if you have any thoughts, throw them in.
The pigeon that crapped Angry Birds.
I don't know why. Why are you putting this? Oh, Pam is saying it's demeaning. I don't remember. I just remember that it was good.
Yeah.
Is the realest quote I've ever heard about homilies and talks. Probably a priest. Let's see. Would they be talking this way if Natalie lady was there?
Who's that? The Natalie lady.
Oh, Mother Natalia? Yes, 100% we would. Mother Natalia is cool and would agree with us. Commie Cross says, great movie. I know. Okay, whatever. No, it's okay. Yeah. But the thing is, I think even with men, if you've got a man encouraging you to be better in a way that sounds like yelling, you still need to believe that he loves you. Like, the reason people love Jordan Peterson is he actually believes that you have what it takes to be better than you currently are. He's not just up the front berating you.
Right.
He's not just insulting you. If someone insults you, I'm not inspired. I want you, like as a friend, to believe that I can be better than I am and then tell me to suck it up. Because if I don't believe that I have what it takes and you tell me to be better than that, I just become discouraged. But if you assure me somehow in your speech that you actually can be better and you need to get your stuff together. So I imagine, what I'm saying is I imagine with women, they need to believe that as well.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
My school is it's called St. John Bosco, and it's heavily inspired by St. John Bosco. And one thing we talk about a whole lot, right, is this Bosconian pedagogy of love deposits versus withdrawals, because you're going to make the withdrawals. And it's the same with your kids, right? My son has to know, like, I love him and I'm proud of him. I'm glad he's my kid. And I got to constantly be making those love deposits because I got to make big withdrawals sometimes. I told you this the other day. I had to really chew my kid out about something. And I think that if I wasn't like purposefully, because it doesn't come as natural to me as I wish it did, like purposefully affirming and building up and all of these things. If I weren't doing that on a regular basis, then all it is just beating your kid down further and further and further.
Yeah.
And that's with all relationships too. I think it's with friendships and like work colleagues, people who work for you, right? They gotta know that you give a crap about me. Yeah.
Do you think as you're getting older, because I do, that I'm increasingly not understanding the dynamics of dating today? When people ask me advice on dating, Thursday just said yes. I give answers that I think probably would have made sense 15, 20 years ago. But today people look at me like, you don't understand anything. So now when people say like, what's your advice on like meeting a woman? I don't know. Do you agree with that? Or are you more in touch with it because you work with high school students?
I work a lot with high school and college age and then like young men, right? Young married guys and everything. And I don't know if I might understand it better than you who's removed, right, from all of that. But it's still bizarre. Like, once again, I feel like I'm 87 years old when, like, I feel like I caught the last chopper out of Nam, right? Because I married my wife right before all the apps and all the everything, the whole game changed. You know, it was I got married in 2011, right? So yeah, the smartphone had come out a couple years before. Yeah. I didn't have one until 5 years or something after I got married. But it was still like, no, you go places and you talk to the girls, right?
Yeah.
And it was all talking. It was not the texting thing. Obviously, I mean, I don't need to go down that rabbit hole about how bad all the apps are. I think most of them suck. But I think you have to allow them into the conversation. I know a lot of people who have really holy good marriages and they've met through, because they evolved because you have to. I'm still a big believer in go do the things you would like your future spouse to be doing, right? Like go to the mission trip and go to the young adult whatever thing and try to have real meaningful human conversations. But I've moved past just crapping on all the digital stuff. I think that's wrong, right? That's the way we are now, so we got to live with it.
But are people dating in your high school?
Yeah, they have some. Yeah, there's definitely some of that. It is it's a very unique school. I've talked about it before, right? Like special friends is like a real designation. And what that means is, hey, listen, I like you, you like me, we're not allowed to date. So we're going to go to the dances together and we're going to sit together at lunch and, we'll go out with groups of people and all that. It's really beautiful. It's kind of old school. I have a little radio show, and I'm sure we can throw it down the show notes, but I've got a girl coming on next week, and they have a real life courting relationship, like not holding hands kind of thing. And they're engaged now. And it's this really beautiful, holy thing that once again seems super cheesy and hokey and like, oh, you think you're better than me? And yeah, kind of. Like I do kind of think that they're better than the way I dated.
I think there should be a natural progression in relationships, like of physical affection towards marriage.
Right.
To me, it is actually, I don't know. I'd have to think about it more, but my first instinct is to say, that seems unhealthy to be in a relationship where we date, we get engaged, and we're still refusing to hold hands. It feels like there should be this gradual progression of physical intimacy that's appropriate until marriage.
Well, that's my biggest argument against high school dating. It has nothing to do with, your brain not being fully formed or anything. What it really has to do with is, you're sort of increasing in emotional and physical intimacy, and eventually you get to a spot where you can't increase anymore unless you're falling into serious sin, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about physical chastity, I mean emotional chastity too. And if Johnny and Susie start dating 10th grade of high school, realistically, they're not going to be married for another, 6 years if they do it pretty darn early, right?
Yeah.
And so they should probably hold off.
One of the reasons I like talking to my kids, especially my older kids who are super cool, about, you should get married. Like, when are you going to get married? A couple of years probably, you could be married. I like talking about it that way because I want them to, I don't know. Like I want them to discern and all of that, obviously. But I don't want them to think that, 30 is the only time I'm allowed to even begin to think about being married.
I think we put way too much emphasis actually in being prepped for marriage.
Thursday says, if I may, can I point something about modern dating that gets sure? Okay, well, in the 90s, 54% of US adults were overweight. Today it's 74.
Yeah.
Is that it? People are less attractive now.
Than they were in the 90s? Yeah. Okay, cool.
I think that's probably true of both men and women.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I was talking to Seamus from Freedom Tunes recently, and he said something that just stuck in my mind. He said when men, because you do meet young men who look like they hate women, like the way they speak about women, he said when a man hates women, it's because he hasn't dated any. Right. And when a woman hates a man, it's because she's dated too many.
Oh.
Something like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, what I was saying a second ago, to tie into you talking to your kids about this all the time, about marriage or older kids, I feel like we over prepare as a society, right? And also in a way with the church too. I feel like because we have these artificial constraints that are put on us because we live in this fake world where everything's fake, right? Where you have a son who's like 17 years old, right? If it were 150 years ago, he's about time to, you're going to be doing your own thing. You're going to give him the back 40 over there so he can start farming, and he should start thinking about, am I going to get married soon and start having kids? But we have these artificial constraints of, you can't get married until you graduate from college. You can't get married until you're financially independent or what, like any of that matters at all. When my wife and I got married, I was making $26,000 a year as a firefighter. She didn't have a job. And she moved out of her dad's house. She spent the night before her wedding in her dad's house where she had lived her whole life. And then the next day in mine. And I moved back in with my parents until the day we got married. It was really cool. It's almost like the lack of forethought was better.
How old were you when you got married?
21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've said this before. I mean, you're the one who first put me onto this idea of get married before you're ready and have more kids than you can afford and then live in a bubble. All of that stuff has to be qualified. You know, we're not saying be irresponsible,
Yeah.
But I think what we're doing is we're bending the stick back the other way so it can be straight again.
I think we just take all of these things that have clearly been true and have worked for 12,000 years since the agricultural revolution, and then we just throw them all out the window 60 years ago or whatever. And then we're like, why is everyone miserable?
Well, here's a question though. I mean, yeah, sure. If we were living when your son's working on the back 40, as you put it, then maybe it is appropriate to be like, you need to be married. But what about today when we've made things such that this isn't the case for 17-year-olds? I mean, is that an argument for why actually now you should be waiting until later?
I hear that, but I still think that I think we're fighting against tried and true human nature of millennia, right? And we're trying to say, like, we're acting like we need to now adjust to this world, and I feel like the world needs to adjust to us. I'm big into the whole
the world needs to adjust to nature,
right?
Back
exactly.
to nature, yeah. Okay.
I'm big into the whole parallel systems thing. You know, this idea that we're gonna we live in this world, right? There's nothing we can do about that, right? It is all the problems that we have as a society. It is still better at least from a physical standpoint, probably from a psychological standpoint, and well, maybe not psychological, but to live in 21st century United States of America, I got a lot of problems with this country. It's still the best game in town, right? And I feel like, I feel like, yeah, we have this broken society, and these young people that all people of all ages, these families that we're stuck in it. We're stuck in this society, and we can't get out of it practically, right? But we don't have to totally immerse ourselves in it, right? You can have a community that uses the real banking system, right? But you've got this sort of insular bubble, and I like that word because people use it as a pejorative, and I want to take it back because bubble just means community. You can have this system that runs in it, but isn't like only dips in with the necessary parts to exist in society. So don't try to be Amish is what I'm saying, right? Don't totally separate from society. That's not practical. But only dip in when you have to, and don't try to. This "we are the world" crap is such garbage.
We are the world. Yeah,
this idea that we're supposed to be global people, and this idea that we're all interconnected, and what you're not supposed to be. You're not supposed to be. Find your people. Find a couple dozen families or whatever, and be in community. That's what we've been doing. I told you, we literally live on a compound on the side of a mountain in North Georgia with 3 other families. Yeah. It's the best thing in the world.
What do you say to a family who are like, I love that idea. It's impractical. I actually do live in the suburbs. I'd rather not, but I have to. Are you telling me I'm screwed?
I don't think that's...
Yes. And he's trying to soften that as gay. Damn.
No, I don't think that. I don't think locality. I don't think physical location has as much to do with it.
I mean, we did it in North Atlanta when you and I lived there.
Yes.
We would unfortunately have to drive 20 minutes to each other's house. That's too far.
Right.
But we made it work.
And I didn't feel the need to throw my kids to the wolves of everyone else. Right. I won't soften this at all. I think travel, sports, and schools. 100% for travel sports, 99% for schools are death traps for our children, and all they do is they build a community for your kid around people who don't give a damn about anything that you as a parent have been trying to inculcate in your kids since they were born. Like if you're trying to do it right, if you're trying to raise good kids, I think the worst thing you can do is have them shipped off to whatever the thing is for the majority of their waking hours, and then you don't have any stake. Your kids are going to be the sum total of the 5 people that spend the most time around. 2 of those should be you and your spouse, right? Obviously. obviously, I think. And even really great kids, even kids who are really great families, right? Who, they're homeschooling their kids and they're going to daily mass and they're doing all these really good, beautiful things. At the end of the day, there's still this desire to keep up with the Joneses. And we feel like, well, my kid has to go. He really likes soccer. So we're going to do all the soccer. We're going to go join the club soccer and we're going to be traveling all over the place. In his life, he's going to have this big community of peers in the soccer world. And they don't care about anything that we care about as a family.
Yeah.
I think that's a really big danger, actually.
Yeah, and you can see how pernicious it is because it comes from a good place. The parent sees that their child has a passion. They understand that their child becoming, fit and healthy and playing a sport is probably better than them just playing video games or something like that. So they invest all in on that, but then they're not around their family, I guess.
I think every time I've ever been on the show, I've talked about this book, but everybody needs to buy a copy of Out of the Ashes by Anthony Esselon.
Yeah.
Have you read that book?
Yes.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And he gets into all of that. Like all of our kids are pigeonholed into these things that take up so much of their time, like sports again, for an example, right? When really they ought to just be playing whatever is going on in the dirt field down the road. And I get how impractical that is for so many people. I understand that my position is, it's really convenient. I live close to these other families. We've got all this space where the kids can run and play and all of that. But I feel like we don't need to take this sort of defeatist attitude of, well, I'm just going to try really, really hard to, say this and do, but we're still going to do all the things. We're still going to be we're going to be in the world in all these ways and try to fight it. I don't think it's possible. I don't think you can do that.
Yeah, I know for me that, or I think other Catholic families, if they move, their question should be probably, is there a good homeschooling community there? Because a good homeschooling community means a lot of things. It means probably a great parish somewhere. It means children who probably don't have phones or a lot of access to technology. And so that way your child doesn't have to feel like the freak.
I think what it really means is that there's families who have got like skin in the game. Right, who are bought in, right? Families who are saying, this is weird and countercultural. Mom's going to have to stay at home so that we can make this homeschool thing work. We're going to have to do all of these things that normal people, quote unquote, normal people don't do. And I think that's bigger than all the other things, right? Like the good parish, obviously that's fantastic. And a good homeschooling curriculum is fantastic. But really it's saying like, hey, you're just as weird and countercultural as I am. We should be friends. Our kids should be friends. And then we build this community around us. And you got to be, I think you have to really embrace the weirdness, like 100%.
I got a thought that I've been ruminating on that I haven't shared with you that I want to share with you now. Okay, so the kids talk about simping. You know what this word means? Someone, I just looked it up so I could get it right. Thursday, you can yell out if I'm wrong. Someone who obsesses over another person and goes to great lengths to please them, even if their feelings are not reciprocated.
Right. I've only heard it referred to refer to boys. Yeah. Right. Simping for some girl. Like he's such a simp. He's always over there trying to get attention from the girls.
Yeah. From a what? Due to sexual attraction. Kind of over affection. All right. So here's the thought. A lot of husbands fall into the trap of simping over their wives. Simping for their wives. And what I mean is this. When we were children, we were dependent on our mother's body for
everything,
comfort, breast milk, and to be regulated. And then what happens is we don't grow up and we're still trying to regulate ourselves with the woman's body. And that might be through pornography.
Sure.
All right. But even if one has broken the habit of pornography, a man who is meant to lead his household and lead his wife can fall into the trap of being overly affectionate towards his wife because he's afraid of not having sex.
Okay.
So he comes off as, he's super kind to his wife. He's always really kind of like, but it's really because he's enslaved. Does that make sense? I'm not saying it well because I haven't thought it through that well, but I think there's something to it that, like, my primary responsibility and your primary responsibility is to lead our wife and our children to heaven. And that means making tough decisions. Sometimes it's going to mean putting our foot down or making tough decisions that maybe our wives don't like immediately. But when the man is so afraid of upsetting his wife, lest she make his life hell, either because she's erratic or just because she won't be as affectionate to him, then he bends over backwards and kind of negates his responsibility as father and husband for the sake of just not wanting sex to be denied him or something.
Yeah, and that's a fine line, right? Because what I know you're not saying is you should be some a-hole lording your authority
that is what
over your
I am
wife.
saying. I'm just joking. No, I'm actually saying I want an actual ball and chain around her foot. Yeah, no, you heard me right. And I'm not going to apologize for it. That's where the manosphere will be in 3 years from now on YouTube. There will be men
100%.
saying, no, I'm actually saying she should be chained to the bed. That is what I'm saying. And anything less than that is gay.
Which is
of course that's not what I'm saying.
And I struggle with this, right? Because my wife and I have a very traditional sort of division of labor, right? I do the outside stuff. I go to work. I do farm things. I do all of that. I make money. And then she stays at home and takes care of all the domestic stuff. And I honestly, and I'm not just saying this for like Catholic traditionalist points, I do not understand how households operate outside of that. And I'm not judging. Some people have to do that. I understand for financial reasons. Sometimes you have to have mom and dad work. I just don't understand how a household runs because I've been spoiled, right? It's always been like that in my household. But when this baby was born, we had a long period where we didn't have any children. We had some miscarriages and some of that in there. And then we had this baby, and it made me have to sort of reassess our whole dynamic and how the household runs, right? And so now Angie makes the dinner, and Angie used to make the dinner and do the dishes and all that stuff. Now Angie makes the dinner, and then I organize my little platoon of my older kids, and we clean the kitchen and clean the dishes and do all the things.
Because you're a good husband.
And, yeah. And so I just don't even understand how I would define, and maybe you can't, whether a husband is like simping for his wife unless you're inside the guy's head, right?
Yeah. No, that's right. I don't think you can look at it from the outside and say that. Well, hey, let me try to think of an example, right? Like suppose, I don't know, suppose you're doing something on behalf of the family that is actually good.
Right.
But it's maybe a little initially frustrating with your wife. And so you forsake the thing that you know is actually what's best for her and your children.
Got you. Yeah.
For the sake of keeping the peace, quote unquote, because you're afraid of disrupting this.
I think that issue is all just a symptom of us as men being afraid to be the heads of our household.
Yeah.
Right.
Symptom. Nice.
Ayo.
Nice.
And that's something that I see. I was talking to somebody at Catholic Family Land the other day about this, about how many families I see on a regular basis, and everything, just sort of the circles I run in and the places that I go and people I talk to, where you have a really strong, on fire, overbearing mother, right? Maybe I shouldn't say overbearing, but one who is good, all about the faith and strong in the faith, and then a dad who's lukewarm or doesn't. Or apathetic about the faith. And so you see this mother trying to be the spiritual head of the house, and it's a kiss of death, right? That's not how it runs. Ontologically speaking, right, by the nature of a father, he is the head of his household. If he's bad at it, his wife can't become the head of the household. You just have a disordered household, right? And when you say that, it sounds so much like some manosphere whatever thing. And I refuse to temper that with like, well, I'm the head, but my wife is the neck. She tells me which way to take. No, that's not true. I am the head of my household. And that's rightly ordered. And my wife would say that happily if she were here right now. And it's hard. It would be a lot easier to not do that. I mean, I can see the appeal of being like the sitcom dad from the 90s who's the bumbling idiot and his wife is really the one who takes care of everything. But we can't do that, not because of pride, but out of a sense of love for our spouse and our children and our family, right? Yeah.
Like we live in a day and age where marriage and gender roles, sexual roles, whatever you say, is such a debated topic. It's almost like it's I feel like we have to almost treat the advice from both sides with a level of distrust. So because you've got people on one side who say we don't actually know what women are, and marriage can mean two men, and sex can mean like masturbation. So we live in a society that doesn't know what men are, women are, sex is, marriage is. So their advice coming from what we would say more as the left, we don't want to listen to. Right. But then I also notice advice that I'm getting from the right that I really don't want to listen to. I was listening to a podcast recently that was talking about the evils of feminism, where the man actually said that he refuses to change his children's diaper. That's his wife's job. Right. And I think that sounds like a deep insecurity you have. And you should just do your duty, and you should, of course, like what you said, you rally the troops and you clean the kitchen because you love your wife and you do what's best for her. So I almost want to kind of go back to, okay, what were people saying before this became a contested issue. Let's look at what their advice is. And that's why I put a lot of stock in people like St. John Chrysostom's commentary on Ephesians 5 and things like this, because things weren't insane then. Like, a funny story of when I came to your house once and your wife was away and you asked me to run your dishwasher because you didn't know.
No, I didn't ask you to run the dishwasher. You said, this dishwasher's full. We should do the dishes. And I was like, great.
Do you know how to do it?
And I said,
I don't know how to do it, is what you said.
Yeah.
And
I still have no idea how to run the dishwasher.
And the reason that's okay, right, is because you hunt and butcher your own animals and feed your wife and children with them.
Right.
It would not be okay for me to be like that. So what I mean is this. If you're a fella insisting that women have these traditional gender roles, but you are just like a red pill streamer and your job is just to get more local supporters and Patreon supporters, like, there's nothing wrong with being a streamer, but to sit there, not know how to use a hammer and insist that women act like they did back in the 40s while you don't, I don't like that.
Yeah.
But that's, I was okay with you being like that because you actually do fit into these stereotypical male gender.
I'm just a big believer, and I'm sure this comes up all the time, but the whole Chesterton's fence thing. And if, I guess, sort of a more simplified version of that is, if everybody did it 150 years ago, we should probably still do it. Not always, right?
Racism.
I was literally about to say slavery's bad, right? Okay, but there was probably a good reason, because if we did 150 years ago, we probably did 150 years before that, and we probably did 1,000 years before that, so on and so forth, right? And so we really need to think about the why before we start throwing stuff out. Chesterton's
gate or wall idea.
Sure.
His is, if you're going to tear down a wall or a gate, you should know what it's there for.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of my bride, though.
Yeah, I've had this analogy that keeps coming back to me. It's this idea that marriage is like Birkenstocks. I said that to a friend. He's like, only lesbians wear them? I'm like, no, that is not it.
I was about to say nuns that no longer get vocations wear them.
By the way, I'm a big Birkenstock fan, but chiropractic...
Not a big Ursuline fan, though.
Yeah. Chiropractors will tell you, like, they're not necessarily good for you. And you're like, why? You're like, well, if you're standing incorrectly, then the Birkenstock will just mold to your disordered way of standing, and it'll just... Right, so I think marriage is kind of like that. When my wife and I got married, there were disorders that each of us brought into the marriage, and marriage, to make it work, it's like you learn to live in a dysfunctional way. I would say that when we got married, I had more of these feminine sins. I had some of them, and she had some kind of masculine sins.
Yeah.
And what I mean is this, like, I grew up, I think there was a lot of kind of passive aggression in my family, and I tended to bring that in, and I would sulk a little, which is very unattractive. It's always unattractive. It's especially unattractive on a man. My wife was raised in a family where when there was chaos, she made everyone okay. So she sought to make things such that people would be okay again. Right. So now we come into this marriage where I've got this kind of traditionally kind of feminine sin, and she's got this kind of masculine sin.
Right.
And we just made it work for so long. So she just kept trying to make me okay.
Sure.
Which in the short term might work, like the Birkenstock,
right? But
eventually, as we started to receive healing in therapy or from our Lord, we realized, okay, this is the reason you're doing this is because I'm doing this, and the reason I'm doing this is because you're doing this. And we had to kind of almost violently change some of the ways that we acted. And I found that the more masculine I acted, the softer she would become.
Right.
So when I would step up and like be attentive to her and fight for her and take care of things for her, she had the freedom to sort of relax into that more feminine posture that I find so attractive. But she was only able to do that when she saw me rise to the occasion.
Well, and that feminine posture that is sort of naturally inculcated in her, right? But has been sort of nurtured out of her, right? Yeah. I'm glad you brought the distinction between masculine and feminine sins.
Yeah.
That's something I talk a lot about.
Do you? I've been thinking about this lately. I don't think we've talked about it.
There is. I think it was my spiritual director? I had this great conversation about it a couple of months ago, and I've just been thinking about it a lot. And I don't remember the exact words he used, but basically he said, if it is a man committing feminine sins, it's equally sinful, but it's also disordered, right? It's like doubly disordered.
Yes.
Right. All sin is disordered. It's doubly disordered, right? If it is, and the example that I think the easiest example is the sin of promiscuity, right? It is a immoral, awful thing for a man to go out and sleep with a bunch of girls, right? That's bad for his soul, right? It's going to do terrible things to him, make it harder for him to be a husband and a father one day. But when a woman does it, right? It's doubly disordered because it's a masculine sin. Because women are not innately, like, they don't want to go out and have lots of sex with lots of strange people.
Yes.
It is unfortunately a part of our masculine nature, disordered part, right? But it's there with
that's right,
to go do that thing, right? There's a deep biological impulse that we have to do that they don't, and so when they've given themselves over to it, it's doubly disordered.
And I think what we've done, even in church circles, have tried to say to women, like, you know, we'll say, right, as Catholics, like, yeah, somehow we justify it when a man does it, but it's horrible when a woman does it. And that's true, but no, it is actually more shameful for the woman to do it because it's doubly disordered. And the masculine equivalent I use would be this. Like, suppose, and you tell me what you think, suppose you went to work where you work at a high school, and there's a woman there who continually gets overwhelmed in meetings and runs off and kind of cries in the bathroom. Yeah, grow up. Like, learn how to not do that. That's inappropriate. If a man is doing that, that's doubly disgusting. That's what we're talking about.
And that pisses a lot of people off saying that. Like, I was talking to my theology kids, and I was talking about emotional control and how I'm called to a level of emotional control my wife isn't called to. And the example that I gave is also a crying example. If we got a call right now and we found out that my wife's mother died, and my wife breaks down in tears and needs to go be by herself for a while, I would keep the kids away if she said, I just can't right now. I don't want to be. And if she was going to spend hours sobbing in the bedroom, okay, that's okay, sweetie. Like, you can do that. You can take that time, right? And if the same thing were to happen to me, exact same thing. I love my mom. Oh my gosh, I would boohoo. But I would do it privately. And the face I would present to my children would be, this is awful, guys. We can come together. We're going to say some prayers. And I have more of this public facing role, right, as a result of my masculinity. And it would be doubly disordered. It would be more disordered for me to go and hide. Gossip is the one that I talk to boys about a lot. Gossip, I think, is predominantly a feminine sin. And a lot of boys gossip. And it's extra gross, right, when a boy does it.
How do we not fall into the trap, though, of let's say your mother dies? How do you not fall into the trap of basically teaching your children by being in control that it's never okay to cry and never okay to be upset if someone close to you dies? Because that's not what you're saying. You're not saying, it's inappropriate. Men don't cry.
I would cry. I would absolutely cry.
And you should.
And I would do that by myself, not in front of my children later. Because I'm called to a higher level of emotional control by virtue of my masculinity and my role as a husband and father.
I think I'm thinking of my own family. Like, I was blessed to have beautiful parents, you know, their own sins like all of us. They're not perfect like all of us. But yeah, if my father broke down for a significant period of time, I would feel chaos in a way that I wouldn't feel if my mother did that.
I've seen my mother cry a lot. I've never seen my dad cry. And my dad's not some chest-beating macho. You've met my father, right? He's a good man. He's a solid man, but he's not Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, right? And it would really... right now, as a grown man with children, if my dad were to come to me bawling his eyes out, I would not know what to do. I would start short-circuiting up here.
So I think the point we're making is, as children, we kind of look to our dad to be that steady... stabilizing force within the family, that if he breaks apart, we all feel we all kind of get swept into that chaos.
And I'm trying to think of it on so on the other side too, right? If one of my kids gets in bad trouble while I'm at work, because they only go to school 2 days a week, it's a hybrid kind of deal, right? Then my wife will do the wait till your dad gets home kind of thing. Like, go to your room, stay in a room till your dad gets home. And
imagine
if Angie was out at the store
and
I said, wait till your mom gets home. Right? What does
that doesn't say anything good about you or your wife. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's sort of like when people say he married up. No one ever says, and I joke about it sometimes, but yes, she married up.
Right.
If you say that and mean it, that's an insult to both the man and the wife, right?
I want to talk about men crying for a minute. Can we do that? I need to write these down, because every year one of the things that I give to my kids, I say, all right, guys, there's 7 reasons when it's okay for a man to cry. And then I make up seven reasons. Some of them are always the same, right?
The Grand Canyon.
Some of them are obvious, right? You have an immediate family member die, right? Oh, I'm sorry. No, first of all, I say that, then I say, actually, there's no reason when a man can cry ever. Men can ever cry, but men can weep, right? Jesus wept, Odysseus wept.
right.
Men can weep, right? And there's difference because at least in my mind, crying involves more of sort of this. It's not just tears coming out of your eyes. It's like a hysterical whatever, but a controlled sob by a man or weeping, I think, is totally appropriate and can be masculine. So all right, so here they are. I'm going to make up 7 more right now.
All right, I need to kind of preface this. I don't want you to change anything you're going to say. Is I cry frequently. I'm moved frequently by beautiful things and find myself tearing up.
Okay,
and I'm totally okay. Yeah. So go. What are the 7 things?
All right, immediate family member dies. Okay, you're immediate. I want to make that. I want to stress that immediate. Nobody cares that cousin Joe's not around anymore. You're fine. You don't. Yeah. Immediate family member dies. You are listening to sad country music written between like 78 and 99, 98. I'll give you a 20-year period in the car by yourself. That's okay. That's the second one. Dog in a movie dies. Number 3. Dog in a book dies. That's number 4. Your dog dies. Right? That's number 5. The last time that a human being saw me cry was when my dog died. And I went to the gas station. It was the last day I had the dog in the passenger seat of my car. I took the day off work. I love a dog. Like I'm serious about. You've heard me speak very affectionately.
Is this Georgia? Or?
Yeah. And you remember that dog?
Oh, she's
the best. The best dog. Took the day off work. She had a stomach cancer. She couldn't eat. She was starving to death. She was so skinny. And we had the vet coming over that day because I pay extra. So somebody comes to my house to give my dog the shot and then leaves. So the dog will come, like, get in my bed and get all comfortable and be like, that was weird. Because I just don't want him scared. I'm a sucker for a dog. But anyway, I went to this gas station and I got some empanadas. Me and my dog were going on. We were walking around, just having a last day. We were going to spots that we liked. Once again, I'm a sucker for a dog. And we got in the car and I started eating an empanada. And this dog who had not wanted food, it had been weeks of me feeding her tiny little bits of moistened whatever, just so she was skin and bones. And she started sniffing and she ate some of the empanada. I was like, oh, yeah. So I went back in, and they were out of empanadas. And I said to the lady, the sweet old gas station lady, like, do you have any in the back? I know this sounds weird, but, like, my dog hasn't been eating. I'm trying not to say what. And she, but somehow I said, I'm putting her down later today, and she really wants it. And the woman goes in the back, brings out a tray of empanadas.
Real quick, is it okay if I tear up during a story about a dog dying? I want to know, is that part of the 7?
No.
Shit, okay, hold it together, Matthew. Hold it together. Keep going.
And says, these are all of them in the back. Just take them all. Oh. And I kind of ran out with tears going on. So anyway, that's number 5. Yes. Number 6 is if you
Did she enjoy the empanadas? Did the dog?
Yeah, she ate like 2 empanadas. It was really cool.
All right, number 6.
Number 6 is you're on the slopes of Mount Doom and you're about to throw the one true ring into the fires which forged it.
That'll never happen, Dad. Then you've never got an excuse to do it. Next.
Then it's allowed. And number 7, first receiving of any sacrament, the first time and only the first time. And yeah.
Did you not cry when you got your first child? When you held your first? I cried.
Did I stutter? Like, did I say it? Was that on the list?
Was that part of the 7?
Yeah. No,
but you didn't.
No, I didn't cry.
I was really. Yeah, I cry quite a lot. I don't cry. I get moist. My eyes.
Oh no, that's different. There's a whole different category for that.
Good.
Yeah. You're allowed.
How many times am I allowed to have my eyes get moist?
37 total.
Okay. Yeah. I'm opening it up, and I'm gonna make you commit to this. 37. Go.
No. I have.
No. Sorry, too late. No. Number 1. Go.
No, I meant you are allowed after this conversation.
Oh, to only have 37 more times.
37 more times.
No, but what I'm asking you is, when is it appropriate for your eyes to get moist?
There's definitely more.
More than 7.
Yeah, there's more than 7. And how it's defined is you can have up to 1 tear inside, closer to the tear duct, so it doesn't work its way all the way over here. Yeah. Right. 1 can go down, but it has to dry before it.
And that counts as not
that
crying?
Counts as tearing up. That's tearing up. Yeah.
Oh, tearing up. Yeah. Because they don't like saying the word moist.
And that actually expands the decades of country music that you're listening to in your truck by yourself. That you're allowed to do that. Yeah.
All right, so we're not going to talk about the only acceptable reasons for your eyes to tear up.
Not all 37. No. No, but I do, and I say that jokingly, obviously. But also, here's the last one. There is one time when it's okay. Somebody's going to clip this. I know they're going to clip
Thursday,
this.
probably.
There's one time when it's okay. One of my kids at school will to kiss another man. Here's what it is. There is. Let me clarify. First of all,
You're French and gay.
never on the lips. Never on the lips. You're allowed one forehead kiss if, and this all has to. It's not like any part of this. It all has to happen. You're on the battlefield. All right. You're on. It has to be an active battlefield. If the battle's over, doesn't count. Right?
Yeah, right.
You're on the battlefield. Battle's raging around you. Right. Your friend is mortally wounded. Right. He's laying on the ground.
Yeah.
You come over. You're healthy. Right. If you're mortally wounded too, don't touch each other. Right. Just stoically make
next
awkward
to
eye
each other.
contact a couple times and just accept it. Right. And he is like reminiscing about being back home, and he has to ask, is it gonna be okay? You can lean over and kiss him on the head and tell him no. Then it's okay. One, yeah. And it can't make any noise. There can be no audible sounds.
Oh, what about the smacking of the lips?
No,
Is that
it's got more of a press, right? It's more of like a press on the forehead.
Okay, I need to look something.
I'm really excited to see what that made you want to look up.
Oh my! Yeah, you know it. Now, could you send that? You either need to be able to.
By St. Thomas Aquinas.
You need to. Could you text that to me Thursday?
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna download it and airdrop it to your phone. And then
Just so everybody knows, I don't know what airdrop is. Oh, here's the guy on the plane. I took a photo of the leg.
You sent me the photo. Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Isn't that inappropriate?
Yeah, that is inappropriate.
Because it's disgusting.
First of all, I want to make it really clear before we read this that I'm 90% sure Thomas Aquinas is going to say exactly what I just said. But if he doesn't, he was also wrong.
And just so you know, it's not Thomas Aquinas who said any of this. Someone made it up.
Oh, okay.
Someone came up with a
right,
Summa
never mind.
article, and it's called "Is it gay to kiss the homies goodnight?"
And it's like all the objections.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna read
Okay,
it.
Great.
open your phone.
Open my phone. All right. Do you know how it? Oh, I turned it off. Can you just text it to me? Oh, there it is. Accept.
Hold on. I need to know until I get up on the.
Oh, I'm so excited to read this. I don't actually think I've ever read it.
I've been trying to get you to read this since I started working.
I've never heard of it. I thought Thomas actually.
I need you to text it to me
gave an
because I
article.
don't know how to use computers. Yeah, if you want to come in here and help me open up this thing, that'd be great.
What's it entitled? Is kissing the
I
homies
think it's
gay?
Is
by
it
Thomas?
gay to kiss the homies goodnight?
Yes.
And there's objections
Yeah.
and responses. So stick around, people. You're going to want to hear this. Locals.com. When you become an annual supporter over at mattfradd.locals.com, we will send you a beer stein. You just have to pay shipping. Please support us. mattfradd.locals.com.
After 10 years, the handle broke off of mine. You got knocked off the counter.
I'll send you another one.
I would love another one.
Text me an address and I'll...
Yeah.
Because the fella who ships them out is from Georgia. So that'll
We
be
just
easy
got
enough.
an address. I've been living in my house since Thanksgiving. We just got an address.
Yeah.
Oh, is he going to
Any other thoughts on men kissing each other? Now, where was I? I was in Italy recently. I went to Assisi, and the fella who rented us the Airbnb definitely kissed me on both cheeks when he met me.
I think that's different.
Is that okay?
Yeah, if you're Southern European, the rules don't apply.
It's okay,
With-
only if you're uncomfortable.
Right.
How much did you enjoy it on a scale from 1 to 10?
I work with a lot of Hispanics at my school. A lot of our teachers. One of my bosses is Hispanic, and I love the on
Yeah.
both cheeks. It's really fun. I've totally given myself over to it.
Do you want to close it
absolutely
just a little?
kiss me.
All right, so here we go. We're going to read it.
Hold on.
Now, I haven't read this Thursday, so how inappropriate is it?
I don't think it's inappropriate at all, honestly.
Why does it mention the Jews? Damn it, Thursday. All right. So I'll make sure. Wait, you let me know when it's up on screen. Is it, so what should we do? Should we do, is it gay to kiss the homies by Thomas Aquinas? So there's two objections. So here's the first objection. It seems that kissing the homies is indeed gay, as the contemporary meaning in kissing revolves around romantic affection. As the people of the world is largely under the influence of society which advertises this meaning of kissing, as the church is truly against homosexuality, thus kissing with the homies is indeed gay. Objection 2. As kissing is a bad act when done under homosexuality or general adultery, the negative consequences of damnation occur. As it was written in the scriptures, Judas the betrayer kissed our Lord, which resulted in the suffering of the passion. Thus, kissing the homies is not only gay, but a negative act. Said contra. On the contrary, the gospel writes, quote, "For every creature of God is good, and nothing is to be rejected, which is to be received with thanksgiving." Thus, a kiss by anyone cannot be rejected and is not inherently gay nor bad. I answer that By the way, just for the 18th time, this is not Thomas Aquinas. Just in case people think, I wonder what the translation for homies is in Latin. I answer that there is not one sole way that a kiss is meant to be taken. As a handshake may have different meanings, so does a kiss, even unto men. Further, a kiss by any fellow child of God may be received in love and truth, not romance. All right, so here's the response to the first one, saying that in our society it basically represents a homosexual act or something. As stated in my response, the meaning of a kiss is given in multiple forms. Therefore, if a homie kisses a fellow with the meaning of love and not romance is given, and the receiver of the kiss understands this and acts not in romance, then the kissing of the homies is not gay. Reply to objection 2. The passion of our Lord was a necessity of our salvation, and nothing of our acts may change this. I'm positive I can write a better article. No offense to whoever wrote this. I'm going to do it.
I'm kind of into it, actually.
As well as the kiss of betrayal. However, the results of kiss that leads to sin shall result in the loss of grace from our Lord, and thus a loss of salvation as stated. And I like what you said better than everything I just read.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Once again, with exceptions for Southern Europeans, because I don't know, they can't help it.
You know what I think this is probably another thing I've adopted from you, but as an Australian living in Europe for the last 5 months, I'm shocked at how Europeans think it's acceptable to trash America.
What bothers me way more is that Americans are okay with it. Like, I'll trash America all day long. I'm super comfortable doing that.
With other Americans, that's my exception.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Never with somebody. No,
Right.
no.
It's like family.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to complain about your mother, you don't do it publicly.
But I don't. It's like a joke. It's kind of like the bumbling idiot dad and his beautiful, intelligent wife from all those sitcoms, right?
Yeah.
It's like this joke that you're the big dumb American, and then you just take it.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I guess we kind of are.
Yo, I know what you mean. It's really gross.
I wonder
really
if there's something in this about the strong person feeling shamed for being strong, and so feeling kind of embarrassed about his power and strength. Like, maybe this is why men are like, yeah, like, make fun of us. We're not going to make fun of women.
Right.
And why America, being the big dog, at least for the next couple of years, maybe, or 15 minutes,
I think,
is comfortable allowing people to kind of mock them because they feel, I don't know, like embarrassed for being more powerful than them.
I think it's the same thing with the white guilt and the things like that. It's we have started to pretend like it's a gross thing that Europeans conquered and colonized the entire world. Even the fact that the word colonization is seen as a bad term, which it's obviously not, right? I think that the residents of Steubenville, Ohio, are really happy that there's no longer, Iroquois ritualistic, torture of their prisoners and raids in the night and all that. I refuse to go along with any of that. Colonialism is good. It's okay. Right? We don't
say
need to
that
be ashamed
isn't here I go trying to moderate you. To say that isn't to say that abuses don't take place in good things. It's sort of like the Crusades.
What I'm saying is it's nothing.
No, what I'm saying is
obviously, yeah. There was a speaker yesterday at Catholic Family Land who's he wrote a book called The Glory of the Crusades, and he gave a really cool talk on church history and the councils.
Yeah. Do you think part of the problem with Catholics today is we want to go back to the glory days of the 13th, 14th century, but that time has passed? And so what we're back at the patristic period where we have to kind of evangelize a pagan culture?
Well, I see myself as like the 40-year-old guy at the high school party wearing his old varsity jacket, right? Talking about how he won playoffs in like 94, right?
Yeah.
But we're so drawn to it because it was that time that we were on top, baby. There was nobody. Yeah. We were the big dogs for a little while there.
Yeah.
So I got into an argument with a Greek Orthodox priest at a Greek fest very publicly. Like, I literally yelled from where I was sitting in the pews, because he was talking about the fourth crusade. Somebody asked the difference between the Orthodox and the Catholics, and he was crapping on Catholics. Obviously, he was a convert. He was actually super cool, really nice guy. He was this like Baptist preacher, and he became an Orthodox priest, right? And he was crapping on the Catholics, kind of like the Austrian cab driver or somebody might make fun of the Americans. And I yelled like, they were all excommunicated. You're mischaracterizing the whatever. Anyway, that's the only.
Why are you yelling? Are you in a conversation with him?
He's giving a presentation at
I
this
see.
Greek fest.
I see.
These, the little Protestants in Georgia are asking questions, and one of them was the difference between the Catholics and the Orthodox. Yeah. And it's the only time in my life I've ever been called a heretic. It was not by the Greek guy. It was by the Russian Orthodox priest who was also at the Greek fest for some reason. Yeah.
Gotta respect that.
Here's my take, and I wish it were stronger. I think I really like the Eastern. I really like the Orthodox. I think they're super cool.
It's not offensive at all.
No, I know. But I like them more than they like us. I think I feel like Catholics like them more than they like Catholics.
You've heard my theory on this, right?
No,
that it's always the underdog who hates the bigger one. Mm-hmm. So I've got a bunch of examples. New Zealanders hate Australians. Australians think New Zealanders are cute. We're cool.
Right.
We love your country. It's actually really beautiful.
Right.
Canadians hate Americans. Americans didn't even know Canada existed.
Yeah. I thought that was a state.
The Irish and the English, of course, they were subjected for 800 years. It's a bit different. But it's the same thing. So we're like, hey, we love you Orthodox. Like, we hate you.
Yeah.
Because they're smaller than us.
I think all of our major differences don't matter. There's some there's some weird Immaculate Conception stuff, right?
Yeah, they believe that she was without sin. They just don't like how we specify it.
Right. And I think it's all just this lame Greek-Latin divide from 1,000 years ago, and we should get over it.
Yeah.
I feel strongly, though, we had this conversation probably a year ago. But
it's like the Orthodox won't let us agree with them. Mm-hmm. Well, we think this. Yeah, I agree. No, you don't.
You don't understand. But it was we were talking about, we weren't like sitting down having a discussion on ecumenism, but you were saying at this point, right, with the cultural war, as long as you're like do you love Jesus, right?
We'll
you're on the team.
There, yeah.
And I said, I feel that way with the Orthodox. I don't feel that way with the Protestants. Okay. I'm once again not attacking individual Protestants, but mostly I don't feel that way with the Protestants because I feel like it's all their fault. Like, I feel like the situation we're in right now is their fault, right? The whole, like, Luther's whole philosophy where you're your own arbiter of truth and the Holy Spirit gets to speak to you privately and you're your own little pope, that led to this hyper-individualism that became where we are today. Right.
It's interesting. Just like Catholics are becoming increasingly traditional, I feel like there's a big subset of Protestants where that's happening as well.
All the good ones are now called Catholics. Not all the good ones. All the ones who are really being traditional.
What I mean is there's a lot of Protestants who are beginning to, and have for decades now, been pushing back against the Hillsong type church and are reintroducing more liturgical aspects into their liturgies.
Right.
And so what that makes me wonder is, okay, this isn't, I don't think, just a Catholic thing returning to a tradition. There's something deeper that's happening where, like, there's tectonic shifts that are taking place such that all sorts of groups are trying to reconnect with their tradition and are becoming more traditional. I suspect that's true. Conservatives in America are doing that. I imagine Muslims are trying to do that. That's probably a bad thing. But Catholics are doing that. Protestants are doing that. The Orthodox are trying to reclaim whatever heritage may have been lost, although it seems like they've done a better job of maintaining it than Catholics. But so that's interesting to me. Like, it's not just Catholics that are doing this. It feels like, at least in the West, the only kind of country and countries I've lived in and visited, there seems to be this desire to return to something. I
hope so.
Prior.
And once again, you run in different circles. I just see, at least where I am in North Georgia, it seems like the mega church, whatever, they're doing better and better and better all the time. I would love like old school Protestantism, like those Catholics are idolatrous.
Oh, we have plenty of them.
Yeah. Well, you'll see that sometimes online.
Yeah.
And I think that's despicable and not true. But at the same time, like, good for you. Like, good way to have a fire burning.
This goes back to, I think, to what I was saying earlier about male and female relations. Like, it's such a difficult time to discuss this. So you see kind of hyper errors on both sides. And I wonder if something like that's also true, today. In every kind of group.
And we talk about this all the time, but I just feel like any fire and burning, I'm excited about. And I'll really, I'm sure I brought this up before, but the most negative feedback I've ever gotten in my life was the first time, second time, something I was on here when exactly what I'm going to say, when I said I would rather my son grow up and join ISIS than have him grow up and just be like some lame guy who really cares about college football and has a really nice lawn and doesn't have any sense of identity or stand for anything. And what I meant,
To be clear, is
was I would
exactly
rather
that.
have my son join. No, what I meant is that fire is a really good thing that I can work with, right? That we can work with, that the Lord can work with, right? Even if it's totally misdirected, even if that fire is going in the absolute wrong direction.
Yeah.
And this guy agrees with me from a long time ago. He said, be either hot or cold, because the lukewarm I'll spew from my mouth, right?
I thought you were going to say the worst, because you began by saying the worst insult, I think you.
I just think the most negative feedback I've ever received for anything
I thought
I've
you
ever
were
said
going to
publicly.
say, speaking of like, sometimes like negative YouTube comments are really creative. So mine was someone making fun of my gigantic head, saying sniper's
I know
dream.
where it's going. I know what you're about to say.
Like when I realized from you that it wasn't an anti-Semitic comment
It made
about
it worse.
Shapiro, it was a comment about my giant forehead. I actually laughed. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Like I actually appreciate the effort put into an insult, and the best insult you've received.
So I don't read comments, so you can say mean things. But I did read a comment once. The only one that ever like got me. I can take accusations of all the worst phobias and ists and all that. That's fine. The worst one ever was, and this is a direct quote, Spann looks like he's one ham sandwich away from a heart attack. And that cut deep, man.
Last time you were here, you said that guy's been living rent free in my
Ever
head
since.
for years.
Like who looks like we did when we got married, right?
Yeah.
But still, and I made the mistake of telling my kids at school that, and it's a funny thing. And now I get ham sandwich jokes probably once a week from some random kid at school. Yeah,
Has someone ever brought you one?
no,
Like on Wonder White bread?
You push it. I've eaten so many freaking ham sandwiches since then, and I've had zero heart attack. What? Oh, sorry. All right.
There will be in the clip.
Just like that Peterson picture. Giant red-faced thumb with a beard.
Thursday, can we take a break? Let's take a break
All right, cool.
and then come back with more coffee and more cigars. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for being here, everybody. I want to tell you about Hallow, which is the #1 downloaded prayer app in the world. It's outstanding. Hallow.com/MattFradd. Sign up over there right now and you will get the first 3 months for free. That's like a lot of time. You can decide whether it's useful to you or not, whether it's helpful. If you don't like it, you can always quit. Hallow.com/MattFradd. I use it. My family uses it. It's fantastic. There are over 10,000 audio guided prayers, meditations, and music, including my lo-fi. Hallow has been downloaded over 15 million times in 150 different countries. It helps you pray, helps you meditate, helps you sleep better. It helps you build a daily routine and a habit of prayer. There's honestly so much excellent stuff on this app that it's difficult to get through it all. Just go check it out. Hallow.com/MattFradd. The link is in the description below. It even has an entire section for kids. So if you're a parent, you could play little Bible stories to them at night. It'll help them pray. Fantastic. Hallow.com/MattFradd.
Any sinner is capable of being a great saint. And any saint is also capable of being a great sinner, a great sinner, a great sinner, a great sinner. The secret, therefore, of character development is the realization of this power that there is in each and every one of us.
This might be the reason that I've got no close friends.
You want the baby?
Oh, we're back.
Oh, we're back on that. Great. It was good. Go hello. Was that the one that you just did?
Yep. Do you use Hallow?
I've never used hello. I've heard that I ought to. My dad likes hello. Super into that.
Yeah, I tend to be a purist, and I think if you're going to pray, try to pray with a book, not an app. But there is something really great. It's so great. Like if you've got an iPhone, Hallow is fantastic. It really is. Yeah.
I want to talk about something.
All right.
I don't remember.
And then just so you know, we have 8,000 questions from our local supporters we can get to.
We can do that too.
Wow.
I want to talk about, you were talking about America or Western world, like religions going back to their roots. I think it is disgusting that there are American flags behind the altar at every Catholic church in the country. I think that's gross, and I think we should get rid of it. Yeah. That's all I got to say.
It's funny. The older we're getting, the less offensive I find you, and therefore the more annoyed I imagine you're getting. Because it's like, of course. Like, I'm like, of course that's the case.
All right, fine. I think.
What's another one?
I think we should burn all. No, yeah. No, I just think because that was born out of what is it? Dagger John. Do you know about Dagger John?
No.
He was I think Archbishop of New York.
Okay.
And there were all these anti-Catholic whatevers going on up there, and the American flags were in response to like demonstrate how hey guys, we like America too. Oh, we're not loyal to the Vatican, which I'm obviously more loyal to my Catholic faith than the country I was born in.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm crapping on America a lot. I like America. America's great. Glad to live here. But that shouldn't be the end all be all of my essence. But anyway, he was called Dagger John because he would write Bishop whatever, his name John, and then a cross, but the cross always looked like a dagger.
Okay.
And he wrote a letter, I think I'm telling the story right, to the mayor of New York. Moscow had been burned down by Russian troops before Napoleon got there, not too long before that. And he said, if you don't do something to like hem in these attacks on Catholics, I will turn New York into a second Moscow. He said, I will have the Catholics burn this city to the ground. I think that's kind of cool. I wish we still had that. Talking about good old days.
Yeah, I'm trying to rehash something we've already talked about, and that's that as the right becomes increasingly right and the left becomes increasingly left, maybe the only sensible position is to have to say something within the middle, which is going to frustrate you because you've spent the last 30-something years taking the contrary position.
I don't want to play this game because it'd be a very bad idea. But we were talking this morning in the sauna about the opening question that I like to ask people, right? Which is, what's your most offensive opinion? And what I really mean is, what's the most offensive thing you're willing to say publicly to me, a stranger, right?
Yeah.
And it opens up some really good conversations and really good. But I'm now trying to think of like what my most moderate opinion is.
Oh, that's
like,
good.
What's my least?
That might be more
offensive.
Embarrassing for you than sharing your most offensive opinion.
I got nothing so far.
Yeah.
I'm kind of for pretty liberal immigration policies if we didn't live in a welfare state. That's fairly moderate, right?
I don't know, that just sounds like Ben Shapiro.
I would have no.
But I guess that's what you mean.
I probably got it from Ben Shapiro. Yeah. Like I'm kind of okay with that. I wouldn't be okay with that if we were Europe. Right? Because the immigrants to Europe are mostly Muslims from Africa and the Middle East, and they're totally divorced culturally and like even morally in a lot of ways from the Europeans. But our immigrants are like predominantly Hispanics, so that's fine. We just speak a different language. We're culturally very similar. Our understanding of what is true is the same.
I'm trying to think most moderate. Like, what does that mean, most moderate opinion?
I guess like a deeply held opinion that you have that's not offensive.
Which makes it such a boring discussion. That's why leading with what you.
I don't love tablecloths. I think they're unnecessary, right?
Yeah,
You gotta
I
wash
said it.
them.
I
Am
said
right? What's the deal with tablecloths?
Was it you who came up with that? I think we've done this on the show before, but it is so fun. What is the best, worst superpower? That was your idea, wasn't it?
Did we do
It's
that on the show?
Such a fun game.
I love that game.
I won't tell them. I told Thursday, I had Jacob here recently, your best one about saving someone who just died if you do a... We're not going to say that. That is the most funniest thing. But I wonder if AI could help me.
With bad superpowers?
Worst superpowers.
That all
Have you thought
started,
about this a
we
lot?
were out in a lake with you and Jerry Crete.
That's right.
That's where it came from. That was like the brainchild of the best worst superpowers.
Tell them the fish one. Do you remember that? That was the funniest.
You can speak to one individual fish, but you don't know which one. Or no, you can speak to one individual fish, but he doesn't like you.
Yeah. So to be clear, the best, worst superpower. We're not talking about the best superpower, we're not talking about the worst superpower. We're talking of all the worst superpowers one could have. What would be the best out of those bad ones?
You can speak in...
So one might be, the one I heard from Michael Gormley is you can fly, but only as fast as you can run, and it wears you out the same. That's terrific.
Yeah.
That's a really great worst superpower.
You can speak and understand any language only while you're urinating. Right? It's neat.
Is the best, worst superpower? Now, obviously, it's not going to understand this, but I'm just curious.
You're asking AI right now?
Yeah. The ability to talk to animals. Oh my goodness, this is incredible, dude. It actually got what I meant. I'm going to read them. All right. The ability to talk to animals, but they only talk about mundane things. You can understand and communicate with animals, but they only discuss trivial topics like the weather or their food preference, offering no useful, insightful information. How is ChatGPT this good?
It's terrifying, dude. It
Right,
really
another
is.
one. Invisibility, but only when no one is looking. You can become invisible, but the moment someone looks in your direction, you become visible again. That's very funny. Okay, super speed, but only in reverse. You can move incredibly fast, but only when going backwards. All right. Flight, but only 3 inches off the ground. You have the power to fly, but you can only hover a few inches above the ground. Yep. All right. The ability to... okay, I can do a better one than this, but the ability to read minds, but only the minds of people speaking a language you don't understand. Here's a better one. The ability to read minds, but only when they're thinking something negative about you.
Yeah. That could be useful.
Give me more, but make them offensive.
Great.
Certainly, but let's ensure we stay with respectful and considerate boundaries while exploring. All right. Oh, and the first thing it said was mind reading, but only when people are thinking bad things about you. That's funny. Super strength, but only when you're naked.
Oh, that'd be great.
You have incredible strength, but it only activates when you are completely unclothed. Yeah, I get that. The ability to tell...
Is it giving you a short description?
It's
of
giving you a
underrated one?
description, but the description is exactly the same as the title. Stupid ChatGPT. The ability to teleport, but only to places you strongly dislike.
I dig it. I was... are you a comic book guy?
Hey, look at this. Cheese manipulation.
It's like Magneto, but with
the
cheese.
ability to create, shape, and manipulate cheese. It's humorous and very specific, but not very practical. What's balloon mimicry? Turning into a balloon. It's, yeah.
It's hard to imagine a scenario where this would
Stench
be the best
generation. You can produce a bad smell. Asomnia inducement. Preventing people from smelling things. Oh, no. A nose.
Yeah, I thought it was something.
I said that wrong. Monarchy inducement. The ability to invoke a presence or strength of government over a large radius. All right, here. I have them right here. Shape-shifting, but only into people you despise.
That seems like one of the best superpowers,
Yeah, it
actually.
does, because then you could
You
embarrass
could just
them
become
publicly.
whoever you wanted and do ridiculous things.
Do you think that's what happened in the Trump-Biden debate? Ew, X-ray vision, but it only works on bathroom stalls.
Did we do debate parties? Yeah, we did debate parties.
You and I went and saw the first Biden-Trump debate back
2020,
in 2020 where Trump talked way too much.
I really enjoyed the debate.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
I think I texted you and said I'm embarrassed about how excited I am to watch this
I
debate.
fell asleep before it started because I'm 80 years old and I'm going to bed at like 8:45 every day.
Yeah.
But I woke up and it's the first thing I did was watch the debate.
You watched the whole thing?
Yeah, I don't...
Thoughts?
I feel like what I'm supposed to say is I feel really bad for Biden, whatever. If I'm talking from a feeling perspective, right?
Yep.
I loved it. It felt so good. I loved watching all of it. But I understand, right? Because I'm capable of abstract thought, that he's a human being and it's super sad. but it just felt like the best. It was the best thing ever. I loved every second of it. And I'm sure this is stealing from Michael Knowles or somebody, but I held my nose and I voted for the guy twice.
Or can you shift to the right to touch?
Is that good? Too far? Good.
And then lean in a little
and
bit.
lean in. Oh yeah. All right, here we go. I would, after 2 Trump elections where I was like, oh my gosh, fine, yes, I'm going to vote for this guy. I would walk across glass, right, to vote for Donald Trump this time with a smile on my face. And I don't like that. We were talking about, this wasn't on air, right? This was before the show?
Yeah.
About
you used a different analogy than walking on glass.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. But I would, I hate how much I like the guy. Like, I'm embarrassed by how much I like the guy.
I often have said on this show that you and I were once up in your cabin in North Georgia and we were looking for a movie to watch. I think we watched 20 minutes of Evil Dead, that horror movie, and then some amount of time with Idiocracy.
Tremors?
Oh, we should watch Tremors.
Have you seen Tremors? I thought you didn't like Tremors. I thought Tremors was one of like 18,000 movies that I've watched 40 minutes of with you, and
That's
you've just been like,
probably true.
I don't want to do this anymore. Can we just like,
I do that a lot.
Can we watch the first 5 minutes of the Ricky Gervais special and then turn it off?
Did we watch Evil Dead 3 together with Chester?
In here?
Yeah. Did we finish it?
Army of the Dead.
Army of Darkness, I think it's called.
Army of the Darkness.
Did we watch the whole thing?
I fell asleep. I don't remember.
See, so you can't keep putting stuff on me.
It used to be much more pronounced. It used to be you would always fall asleep every single time. Everybody would leave and you'd be like, hey, let's just like go watch a movie. It'll be great. We'll just go have some bourbon in the basement and watch a movie. And then you
10
were
minutes
like
in.
audibly snoring. Right? Yeah. In no time.
But I'm slightly older than you, so now you understand.
I don't think we ever talked about how.
This is good. The power to control weather, but only to create minor inconveniences. You can control the weather, but only to cause small annoyances like light drizzle, strong winds that mess up hair.
I don't know. I think a comic of these superpowers would be because a lot of them you can get super creative with, right? I think that's one of the big fun things about it is coming up with how you would actually use these for what.
I want to make a book of these. Listen, the ability to make people fall in love with you, but only when you're extremely sick. That's so good.
That's my favorite one so far.
This one's not good, but I'm going to read it. The power to become incredibly attractive, but only to mosquitoes. Yeah, nice try. The ability to heal any wound, but it causes you intense pain. That's not good. People receive like surgeries. That
right.
was the super hearing, but only when people are gossiping about you. The ability to find any lost item that belongs to someone else. No, that would be good. You could make a business on that.
That was the original bad superpower at the lake. Somebody's sunglasses fell in the water. And we said, wouldn't it be cool if you could just like bring up all the contents people have dropped? Right. And then we said, that would be like a really funny superpower. Like this in this one lake, I can make stuff that is falling on the bottom.
Everything on the bottom, I can lift it up.
And then it falls immediately.
Because that would legitimately be impressive. Yeah. But that's what you can do. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's not good. The ability to breathe underwater, but you're terrified of water. The power to control fire, but you can't feel temperature. What? The ability to make anything you say come true, but only when you're asleep and dreaming. None of these are good. That one was good.
The one about being incredibly sick?
Yeah. It's wild. Oh, what's this one? Fun fact, mosquitoes love potassium, so if you want to avoid getting bit, just have someone else eat a banana.
Is that true? Is that like a real thing? Yeah. That's cool.
That reminds me of that joke. There's these 2 photographers out in Africa photographing lions at a safe distance. And the lion catches the smell of them and turns around and starts barreling towards the 2 people. And the guy takes his camera off and starts putting on his sneakers. The other guy says, come on, you cannot seriously think you're going to outrun this lion. It's like, I just have to outrun you.
I wish I had done joke prep so I could do another 45-minute long joke on the show. I got nothing though.
Yeah.
I don't have any jokes that are both funny enough to tell and appropriate for the air. Yeah.
Do you know something inappropriate that you've learned recently that we haven't shared? We'll get to that.
Some inappropriate ones?
Yeah, I'm not saying you share it, but I'm saying afterwards.
My dad does, he's got a bar, like a Irish pub down in Americus, Georgia.
Shout out.
And big shout out, Past Place. And they have a huge St. Patrick's Day blowout every year. It's really big. I mean, it's a big deal. And he has this like endless list of awful St. Patrick's Day related jokes, which is just the people in there have names like Seamus. That's what makes them a St. Patrick's Day joke. Everybody's like Seamus O'Malley or whatever.
Yeah.
And here's one that I don't think you're going to find funny because nobody else thinks it's funny but me, but it's my favorite. It's my favorite one. Are you ready?
I promise not to pretend to like it because you do. Go.
Seamus O'Malley and his wife. that's not it.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's not it. All right, yeah.
And his wife are sitting around the dinner table, and she's really frustrated with him. And she says, "You never notice anything about me." And he says, "That's not true. There's no way that that's true." So the next day, she comes home and she says, "All right, Seamus, something's different about me. What is it?" And Seamus goes, "Oh, it's your hair. You just got a haircut today." Yeah. She goes, "Nope, I didn't get a haircut. Didn't do that." And he goes, looks her up and down and goes, "New shoes, babe. Good. Those look great. I really like that." She goes, "I've had these for years." And he looks her up and down and he says, "Maybe mani-pedi day, whatever." And she looks at him and she says, "Seamus, I'm wearing a gas mask." That's my favorite joke.
Now, you told me that before.
Have I?
And I loved it so much.
I think it's such a good joke.
It's a great joke. My dad always sends me jokes by email, and they're always like so offensive. It's so bad that I can't respond because I'm afraid it'll incentivize him.
It is funny how you go back about 50 years and all the jokes boil down to like, he was a black guy. It's like, but it's not. Is that like the Polish jokes from a long time ago? There was like that post-industrial revolution era where the every joke just ended with the guy's different. You know how they are.
Yeah. Do you remember that Norm Macdonald joke about Polish, the Polish thing?
No, what was it?
So he's like, I'm Polish in my background, although I don't know how McDonald is Polish, but he says he goes into this place and the guy says, he says, "G'day, mate." Yeah, I can't remember it, but he says something like, "You want some?" He's like, "Can I have some Polish sausage?" He's like, "Oh, you're Polish, are you?" He's like, "God, how racist is that?" Well, if I came in here and I said I was German, I guess you'd say I wanted some German sausage. Or if I came in here and I said I was French, well, you think I'd want a croissant, would you? Come on. And he does this for like 20 minutes. And I came in here and I said I was Mexican. He's like, no. He's like, this is a hardware store.
Norm Macdonald. Well, did you ever listen to Michael Knowles talking about Norm Macdonald and the relationship he had with him?
That was on my show.
Oh, was it on your show? Oh,
he may have talked about it elsewhere, but the first time he ever shared it was on my show.
They
really went
cool.
back and forth over email.
I'm a big.
He's very,
Norm
very
Macdonald.
funny.
Did you read his book?
Yeah.
There
were some disturbing things in that book, wasn't there?
And I don't know how much of it is even real.
I don't think any of
right?
it.
It was all just made up?
Yeah, I think so.
I got really excited about the Weird Al biography that came out. You know Weird Al?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just nonsense. None of it made any sense. Daniel Radcliffe was Weird Al. It was actually kind of disappointing. I sort of wanted to know the story. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah.
Oh, it's a documentary or a book?
No, a biography. Sorry, it was supposed to be a biography of Weird Al, but like stylized for the screen. Yeah, it's terrible.
All right, let's take some questions from our local supporters. Philip Z says, any advice on establishing good friendships when you see that your efforts are one-sided?
That's tough.
You're about to say, be cool around me.
No, I was not going to say that. I'm out at a Catholic family land right now, and I see, like we were talking about earlier in the show, a lot of really good people who I feel like don't have self-perception. And I'm sure I've been that way before. We were talking about that early on. And I have no idea. I'm sure, Philip, you're a handsome, virile, good-looking guy, right? But I do think not just knowing yourself, but knowing how you are perceived by other people is something that so many of us lack. And it's almost like it's hard to get to a situation where you can be honest about yourself if you don't have people in your life who are willing to be honest with you about yourself. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I wish that I had some great advice, but I think can simping apply to friendships Thursday?
That's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like we're all so desperate for community and attention and affection. And I wish that I were going to end with, and here's what you should do.
Yeah.
But I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think a big part of it is state in life. As you get older, it's less about someone being your age and more about whether they have kids when you have kids.
Right.
You probably were like this. You have single friends, you get married, you have kids, and then you're more likely to want to hang out with someone who's married with kids, even if they're 10 years older than you, than with somebody who's single and has a roommate. And it's not because you don't love them. It's just you're in a very different stage right now, and it's hard to kind of relate to.
Well, it's tough when you have those really good friendships and then you change your state in life and they don't.
Yeah.
Right. I think about that with, we're about to do this big beach trip with my family. And now, right, I've got a lot of cousins who, some of them are older, but I got married first. I had kids first. And so there was this long period of like, I can't talk about anything that will make sense. It'll be like I'm speaking a different language to you guys. And now we're in a position where they're starting to have babies and it's kind of cool. So I'm excited about doing that, but I don't know how to remedy it because I get asked that question a lot about sort of friendships and developing friendships. And I don't
do fun stuff together.
Yeah.
Because isn't that what it's about? Like, you know, you invited me hunting.
Right.
I invited you to have a sauna. You know, we invite each other to watch a movie or to go have a cigar. Like there's this third activity that the two of us are going to enjoy. And that activity is going to be more enjoyable because you're there.
And if you're just inviting me to everything, and I'm going occasionally and making up a lot of excuses. I think a lot of it is like, got to take a hint a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, screw that guy.
Yeah.
He don't want to hang out with me.
Decide that he sucks. Yeah.
Also, the number of friends is interesting. I was talking about that the other day. I have made like real friends since college. I'm trying to think of somebody other than you, so I don't flatter you, right?
Yeah.
But like you, kind of. And I have friends I hang out with from college and sort of tiers of friends now. But I only have a couple of guys, really, that I'll have like deep, real life conversations
and that'll
with.
do.
And that's what I was going to say. And that's fine. And that's good.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be friends with everybody in the whole world.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of people who I'm friends with because my wife is friends with their wives, and like we get along fine. But
I think we've talked about this, like an integral part of being close friends is that the two of you respect each other. Like you cannot be friends with somebody that you think is kind of like you feel sorry for him,
right,
or something like that,
right?
Because then it just becomes, I don't know, like he comes to you with his problems and you're sorting them out for him or something.
That's tough.
You have to respect the fella. Like, there has to be something about the other fella that you're like, I love that about him. I wish I was more like that. Right. I think something like that.
Right.
That's. I mean, I'm sure that's. I don't know. Women can speak for themselves, but.
I also think women
can they again? Yeah, but what you don't mean? No, that is exactly what I mean.
I think that female friendships are so drastically different than male friendships, and I feel like a lot of times, going both directions, we'll try to emulate the types of friendships that the other sex has, and that's weird and disordered, right? I think for some reason, and what do I know? I'm a guy, but. In my experience, women seem to have a whole lot of more surface level friends, right? And I'm also kind of a recluse and curmudgeon in general. I have like 3 friends, like 3 people that I really like. I'll fly up here to hang out with you, right, for a weekend or whatever. Almost nobody. I've got a couple other people who I might do that with. And also, I don't have to call you. One of my favorite things about you as a person is that you will text me. And I will text you back 2 weeks later in response to that text. And I know that you're not like butthurt about it.
I love it. I actually respect it.
Female friendships, though, I feel like there's a lot of that. There's a lot of, you didn't text me. We haven't talked in so long. Can we catch up? Right? I cannot see you for a year. And we would sit down and I would not ask you deep questions about your kids. We might get into some really deep stuff, but we would sit there and just kind of like, I wouldn't feel this need to say like, hey, look, I'm still invested because I'm going to do this deep dive into you. And that's not knocking female relationships. It's just saying, I think that it's just very different.
Yeah. I mean, my wife has deep friendships. I think that's part of being a Christian. As you journey into the Christian faith and as you strive for holiness, a couple of things happen. You realize that there is this great good that can be attained.
Sure.
There is a way in which you should live your life. There are things about yourself that are unacceptable, not yourself, but your sins that are unacceptable that have to be overcome, that you're struggling against. So I feel like friendships, whether they be male or female, in a Christian context, it lends more towards deeper things. Because if there are things I do that I know are gravely evil,
right,
then I need to overcome them. And, whereas if I kind of just go with the flow and I'm okay however I am, that seems to me that would lead more to superficial friendships. My wife definitely has deep friends. A lot of them aren't around. A lot of them are like friends from years ago that she converses with over Marco Polo, where women can just be honest with each other and not put up a front. I mean, that's true.
But I also
think
I don't think we should strive to make all friendships deep friendships.
Yeah.
Right. I think it's totally fine to have. I've got dozens of guys that I'll text with every now and then, or shoot a meme over to them, and we'll chit chat. When we run into each other, and I consider them friends. I might go see a movie with them or whatever.
I'm even at the point now where I don't respond to people who I haven't talked to in years if they write to me.
Right.
Because I don't even want to.
Sure.
Isn't that awful?
Yeah, but I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I've
Like
always
someone I met, to be clear, maybe I had a coffee with him like 5 years ago.
right.
And that's my only interaction with him. And then this person might text me and I'm just like, hi, but I don't want to start a thing. I don't need another friend. I don't need another thing to take me away from the things that are important to me.
That's what I
now.
was going to say. I actually think that's rightly ordered. That's okay.
I had someone call me yesterday when I was taking my wife to the hospital, or to the doctors. Someone called me. They found this happens quite often. They'll find my number and call me randomly. This fella.
Do you just have your number like on?
No, I don't.
somewhere?
I don't
Okay.
know. Actually, one fella called me and said he found my number on a service, which made me think he had to pay
Like
to
paid
get
money
my
to
number.
get your information.
And when I acted like, okay, this just no, like you can email me if you want, but he texted me back all butthurt that I thought I was too good now, that I thought I was famous or something. I'm like, no, you just don't have boundaries. That's the problem.
Well, and my
it's absolutely your
priorities are such that you shouldn't be willing to do that, right?
Well, so yesterday I got a call from someone and I didn't even check it, but you know how the voice message will sometimes write the text out? So it was this guy calling me to berate me for having Jordan Peterson on the show.
Just a random guy?
Yeah, never heard of him. Don't know who he
bizarre.
is. It was clear from the initial lines that he had found my number. Like, who
it's
do
weird.
you think you are?
What else?
Okay, what is the experience like when you are outside the camera shot watching the conversations with bigger people like Jordan Peterson on the show? I think we kind of already talked about that, didn't we?
Oh, they're asking me about sitting there. It's cool.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Yeah, I think they're not talking about you rewatching it. They're talking about me
You being
hanging
out
out in
there.
there
Yeah.
with Melanie and you and Jordan Peterson in here. It's neat. I mean, I think I just like sipped a bourbon the whole time and checked emails. I was really excited once it was over and beforehand when we got to talk to him, and yeah, that was really cool.
Sparty fan says, how's the garden doing? What are the latest lessons learned from the homesteading?
Great question. Terrible. All the growing stuff is terrible. I like livestock more than I like plants anyway. My wife's more into the gardening. I'm more into animals. What I like about an animal is that unlike my pansy like cabbages, right? If my goat is thirsty, my goat walks over to where there's water and drinks it, and my cabbage just sits there all needy. So we just built this new homestead out literally on top of a mountain. We scraped all the earth off the mountain. We literally have our house built on rock with like rock anchors that go into. It's cool.
Yeah.
And so, but there's no dirt. And we're like North Georgia mountains anyway, which is not known, for agricultural production of, like growing row crops or anything. We've got some bottom land that's too far away for me to actually get down and cultivate. But I've had to truck in dirt, and dirt's expensive. I've got a relationship with a horse barn, so I've been taking their stuff. But then I think that they've got Grazon, which is like a herbicide that the horses are eating, and we've had all sorts of problems with food. We don't have a lot growing right now. We've got strawberries, asparagus. I put the perennials in all right away, and cucumbers, tomatoes, squash, zucchini, okra, a lot of that stuff. Potatoes, sweet potatoes are in right now, but it's really struggling. It's actually super frustrating to me right now.
You should write a book on homesteading called My Pansy Cabbages.
Great book on homesteading, by the way. Not so much on the how-to stuff, but just the frustrations with it. It's written by a guy named Joel Salatin. Everybody should check him out. He's like a organic, like just sort of sustainable agriculture guy. Mm-hmm. And I got this book for Christmas from my mother-in-law. It's called Everything I Want to Do is Illegal. And the whole book is about how impossible it is if you're not one of these big guys who wants to spray everything and has got lobbyists in D.C. If you want to eat real whole food and make any living, right? You want to sell it to people.
Raw cow milk.
Right. Yeah. Then you can't do any of it. They've made it illegal almost for us to provide for ourselves.
What a great title.
Isn't that a great title?
Because when you write a book, you have several names and it's usually the publisher that gets the final say. That name is excellent. Noah, this is a good question. If your local Catholic church is super woke and low church, and your local Anglican church is very based and high church, which one should you go to?
Well, the Anglicans don't have Jesus there, right? I'm not trying to be dismissive, but no, you go to the crappy church and wait because eventually that priest is going to die and all the new ones are awesome. So you go where Christ is, right? And
yeah, it's a hard question though, isn't it? Especially if you've got children. Like when he says super woke, I'm thinking worst case scenario.
Oh yeah, okay, that's
Like
a good point. Not bad.
Yeah,
not
I think
liturgically bad.
Yeah,
but
gosh, I think you got to do your duty. That still stick to that. Like your duty is to attend Sunday mass, and so you don't want to abandon.
I think you bring your
duty.
Magnificat with you during the homily. You do whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been to one church before that I would consider super woke. That was a church in downtown Atlanta, one of these beautiful churches that has been destroyed by modernism, and it was awful. Like the rainbow stuff and all of these things is coming from the pulpit. I mean, it was really
gosh.
offensive, right? It was within walking distance of a hotel where I was staying, so I went over to it.
Feel free to correct me, but I would think you would have a moral responsibility not to take your children.
Yeah, if you can, yeah. Well, but let's say that those are the only two options, like this guy, right?
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, but what you just said was woke stuff, rainbow stuff spewing from the pulpit. Now, I think the thing is you can take an exception like that and run with it and try to justify why you don't go to your church because they have a guitar there or something.
Right.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if the priest is actually preaching heresy, error, and you have children.
There were literal like ally LGBT like pamphlets and stuff in the narthex. Yeah,
Wow. Have you noticed Gay Month is a lot more
subdued
this year?
Yes, yeah. I think that's. I mean, last year I think that's the first culture battle we've ever won in my lifetime. Was last time. Did you hear about Tractor Supply?
Who?
Tractor Supply.
No.
I love Tractor Supply. I've always loved Tractor Supply. I do a lot of business with Tractor Supply. And then they had some expose where some guy they were funding all this DEI stuff and weird gendery stuff and like the trainings that their managers and stuff were doing was all wokey. And it broke. And I found out about it. And I was like, well, that sucks. I'm going to have to drive a little further. But you know what? I ought to be doing it anyway. Local feed and seed place. They're good guys in the community. And so I started doing that. I'd only made a couple of trips to my new place. And they issued like a full retraction of all of it. Tractor Supply did. Like the blowback immediately caused them to say, okay, you're right. Sorry. We're a farm and supply people. My bad. Sorry. It's super cool. But now I'm going to this great place where I know these people. So I'm still going to, I'm going to continue to go to the local place.
Good.
But I thought that was really interesting. They didn't just circle their wagons.
Yeah, and they would have if they thought they could have won, I would suspect. But the fact that those who are more conservative leaning have more clout than maybe they once did.
Right. I think the Bud Light boycott is like the biggest, coolest cultural victory of
Never
our
drink
lifetime.
that again. Trump is wrong. Never drink it again. Trump
Did he
came
say
out and
he said
defended
drink?
it.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I wasn't drinking a
After
lot of
the
Bud Light to
fact,
begin
and
with.
said, come on, they've learned their lesson, something to that effect.
I've
It's like,
actually
no.
started. I'm not a big beer drinker, but I've started buying Modelo, right? Because they are now the number one, and I just want to keep their numbers pumped up. I don't want Bud Light to ever get back up there.
Yeah.
And I think they've increased their market share significantly. Bud Light has since.
Yeah, same thing with Target and all they did. You remember last year? That was the big thing. Never shop there again, ever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, did I tell you this story? And I'm not.
No, please.
I'm not recommending anybody do this.
Got the TSC statement if you want it. Yeah, throw it up.
Cool,
I'd love to read it. Oh, golly, can you zoom in? For more than 85 years, Tractor Supply has been focused on one thing, serving life out here. Every day, our 50,000 team members take care to our customers like family. We deeply value our relationships with our customers and the communities we call home. I hate how
it's so
specific
just
this
corporatized,
is. It's so gross.
like
we are
sanitized,
passionate about being good neighbors in hometowns because without you, we would not be what we are. It is imperative to us that our customers' hard-earned dollars are taken care of, our team members and our communities we all love. As you supported us, we have invested millions of dollars in veteran causes, emergency responses, animal shelters, blah, 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 blah. We have also invested in the future of rural America. We are the largest supporter of FFA. Terrific. Keep going. We work hard to live up to our mission. That's also boring, isn't it?
There you go.
Here we go. Where's the... This means we will no longer submit data to the Human Rights Campaign.
Awesome.
Refocus our team members' engagement groups on mentoring. Can you read this? I'm trying to read it.
On mentoring, networking, and supporting the business. Further focus on rural America priorities, including ag education, animal welfare, veteran causes, and being a good neighbor, and stop sponsoring non-business-like activities like pride festivals and voting campaigns, eliminate DEI roles and retire our current DEI goals while still ensuring respectful environments, withdraw our carbon emissions goals, and focus on our land. I mean, it's the
that's
biggest
cool.
slam dunk from,
Like after that corporate speak, they said some cool things.
Yeah, and they actually said it. They didn't like beat around the bush. They said, we're going to stop doing the DEI stuff. We're going to start funding pride campaigns. That's really neat.
That's really great.
Yeah.
It's good to see.
But anyway, I'm probably never going to shop there ever again.
You're going to you shouldn't. Okay, I think it's right. They should punish them.
They should die. Like, they should wither on the vine.
Christopher says, John Henry is my favorite guest. Thoughts on boundaries in romantic relationships, emotional and physical, and how to be a man that leads his girlfriend, potential spouse, in holiness.
Awesome. So first of all, that's a great question. I'm like Donald Trump. If you say something nice about me,
You are now my favorite person.
You're great. I'll bail you out of prison, man. But I like the way that he worded that too. How do I lead my girlfriend to this?
Yeah.
Right? How do I put on that role? I'm not the head of the household yet. We're not married, but it is my job. I think it's Jason Everett who talks about his goal. Your goal should be when you're dating someone, if it doesn't work out, to be able to shake her husband's hand one day.
Oh, that's
right.
good.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yep.
So I think by taking on that role to begin with is what's super important. And this, what I'm going to say might sound hokey, but it's true. It's all those sort of classic things of, I don't like using the word courting because that has connotations that I'm not getting at, but all your time alone together is in public places, right? Angie and I, when we were engaged to be married, which is when the temptation for sexual sin is at its zenith, right? You're at a point where it's like, well, we're going to be married in 2 weeks, so who would even know, right? We had to institute rules like our feet are always on the ground if we are together, right? Yeah. We're not going to go. She was in charge of a house, Regnum Christi mission house, where they had all these girls come in the summer, and so she had literally this like mansion to herself that she just lived in, and I had a car. I was living in an extended stay hotel with my buddies, and I could drive over there. We had a whole giant house to ourselves, and we eventually were like, nope, we can't do that. And I wish I could say like, and it was me, and I was great. No, it was a lot of back and forth and togetherness. Just to say this line because I really like saying this line, ladies, do not date a guy who's willing to wait until you get married to have sex, right? That's bad. And what I mean by that is date a guy who's not willing to wait, right? Who's not willing to honor your opinions there, but who's saying, no.
Even if you ask me.
Right.
Yeah, even if you want to.
I don't care about your about my boundaries are we don't do this. We don't cross that line. And I think that would solve a lot of problems. This idea that we allow ourselves to think of, and we're not doing this actively, but we are passively, right? I am this sexual being with these uncontrollable urges. So the onus of chastity is on the girl, and I am going to respect her, right? That's gross and emasculine. I hate that, right? It should be, no, I'm not going to do that. It's going to be really, really hard, right? And I'm also struggling with the porn addiction that I've had since I was in middle school. That's going to make it harder. But because I'm a man, because I'm too good for that, I have to weaponize my pride all the time, sort of like as I slowly claw my way towards salvation. It's like, I'm too good for this sin, and that's why I'm not going to do it. Yes. So, yeah, good for you, Christopher. Good luck.
Jessica says, how to get a man to understand how vital his role is in his children's lives. I see so many passive fathers standing by while their kids self-destruct.
I think if you're asking that, and I'm not saying you are, Jessica, I don't know you, but if the question is, how do I get my husband to do that? The answer is you don't. I think a woman saying, you're failing here on X, Y, or Z is a really good way to get him to circle his own sort of wagons and become defensive in all of this. I think it's good men. I have no original thoughts. I've just surrounded myself with really good people. And from a fatherhood role, it's not because I've like, I don't know, I've innately figured these things out. It's because I'm constantly bothering good fathers with grown children who have gone through everything I'm going through, and those children are still in the faith, and I'm saying, how do I do this? So I think maybe figure out a way to set your husband up on a man date, become friends with a couple who's really good, with some guy with a great beard who looks like he knows what he's talking about, who's got good kids in the faith, who's a good man and a good husband. I do think that's what it comes down to.
What I'm about to say is probably manipulative, but I still think it's a good idea. You should affirm in people what you want to see more of.
Yeah, that's huge.
So rather than criticizing your husband or criticizing your wife, if you see her do something, go, that just meant the world to me. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for I feel so grateful when my wife like affirms me for very specific
big.
things
I like
that
a
I
lot.
do. Yeah.
I don't think that's manipulative.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't think the intent behind it is the intent behind it is like, I want to bring out this goodness in you, not I'm trying to change you.
Yeah.
Right. I also don't like how we talk about like changing our spouse or our romantic partner or whatever, as if it's a bad thing. Like, obviously marriage has changed me. Angie and I had that conversation the other day. It's cliche, but I love her so much more than I loved her when we got married, obviously. Right. And I'm not perfect by any means, but I'm such a better man than I was when we got married. And it's for her, right? Predominantly. And I hope that if I were single still and I had never gotten married, I would be, trying to be the man I want to be, like the man that I'm called to be. But I kind of doubt it, right? I think my spouse has changed me and transformed me. And kids too. We were talking about this in the sauna too today. I hear all the time people who will give some version of, it's just so much harder for me to have a relationship with God, right? As my relationship with Jesus, I'm no longer doing my adoration time or whatever because I had all these kids, right? And it's just tough. It's been the exact opposite for me. It's, hey, listen, I suck in all these ways. I want my kids to do better than me. So I'm going to force myself to do these things that I don't want to do. So my kids grow up saying, oh, that's what dads do. That's what adults do. That's what men do. Yeah, it's been really good.
Yeah, and I also think, like I said to you this morning, that betrays an immature or imperfect understanding of what prayer is anyway. Because if I'm saying, okay, now I've got these kids and I don't sleep, and I regret not being able to be on my own in a quiet room reading my Bible, it's like, yeah, but that's not what you're being called to right now.
Right.
Like, you're being called to bear the burden of fatherhood and make your children's lives easier and your wife's life better.
Right.
Yeah. And to abandon that, to go back to adoration, which of course is a good thing, and you can still incorporate that into a busy family life. But if you're abandoning your paternal and responsibilities, you've just made everyone else's life harder so you can have some time out.
Right.
Which we all need time out occasionally. But yeah. Now, as somebody who teaches high school students, what other things do you think high school students aren't, like what do you wish fathers and mothers knew that their kids maybe aren't telling them?
Yeah, no, good question. I've done a series of talks at some local churches in Atlanta. I get into this. I was asked to give a talk at I don't know if it was That Man Is You thing or what, but it was something similar to that.
Right.
And so I kind of asked what's the demographic. I normally talk to teenagers and young adult men, right? And so this was all dads, 40s, 50s, 60s, right? Granddads. And I was sort of looking at myself and my state in life and like, well, what do I have to offer these guys? I can't give you child rearing tips. My oldest is 12, right? I haven't gone through a lot of the frustrations and everything. And so I thought about it, I prayed about it. And what I did is I decided I was going to sort of make a list of things that I've heard from 15 years of having just about daily conversations with young men, mostly young men, young women too. It's harder to have those kinds of relationships with a teenage girl as a man, right? I'm not going to go have a closed door meeting with a girl about a serious problem that she's having. But I sort of tried to distill those down and give a talk on it. And I don't remember all of the list, but the big one, and this is going to sound super cliche, but it's cliche because it's true when you talk about it all the time, is the phone thing. I get that all the time from kids. And I mean kids, like 17, 18-year-old kids, and then guys in college, like some version of, more generally, why the heck did my parents give me this phone when I was in middle school or whatever. Now I'm constantly staring at it and whatever. But it's usually more pointedly, why would my dad allow me to do this? Now I've had a porn addiction for 10 years. And it's really heartbreaking to have. I've had multiple 20-somethings who right now I've got control of their phones. I've got the parental apps on my phone so that they can't, as men, right? They can't access almost always porn. I mean, there's usually some social media. I spend too much time on it. I'm looking at Reddit all the time or whatever. But so me, some random guy who gave a talk at your kid's college, is now trying to help them in this thing that they fell into because it was a lot easier for you guys to have a conversation at a restaurant or whatever if your kid had a iPhone to distract them. That's a big one. It's a really, really big one. For girls, a big one is my dad, I can't think of it sort of exactly how it's been worded, but it's usually what it comes down to is he stopped being like physically affectionate with me and stopped treating me like a little princess and became much more standoffish and almost like afraid of me after I went through puberty. That's normally what it is, which is awful.
Yeah.
It's awful, right? And I don't know what that is. Once again, I'm not in that stage of parenting. But these girls who have this desire for affection and attention and love, like we all do, right? Yeah. And from a man, and it's not inherently a sexual or romantic thing. It's just, no, I want to be like affirmed and loved, right? And so they go filling that gap in all the wrong places with all the wrong guys who are going to give them that attention and affection, right? But there's going to be a sexual element to it or whatever. And then
I guess I can see why. I'm trying to get into the head of a man who becomes distant as his child goes through puberty. Yeah, maybe it's something where the father's wrestling with the daughter and hanging out, and then all of a sudden, he doesn't want to accidentally touch her breasts or something like that. And I can understand that awkwardness, but it's important that men realize that women say things like that. Like, no, I want my dad. He's my dad. Yes. He needs to continually be affectionate with me.
I think pretty much the best thing you can do as someone who has not lived through this for your daughters, if you are a man, is to obnoxiously dote on them on a regular basis, right? Like they're sitting down and they can give you the dad stop and the sit down and the hug and the even if they're like, dad quit, right? And you are beautiful and you are good. And this is not infantilizing, because I think there's a version of this for the guys too. But at the end of the day, I do believe all women from 14 to 94 are ultimately that 7-year-old girl they once were in a princess dress, right? They want to be loved and they want affection and they just want to be told they're beautiful and good. And that's got to come. It's most important that comes from dad.
I think there's a sense in which fathers have to be really careful with how they criticize their daughters.
Sure.
Like the way we talk to our sons, stop that. It's annoying. It's weird. Don't do that. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't talk that way to my daughters, and I shouldn't talk that way to my daughters. Right. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's because maybe somehow I think that there's a sort of social pressure on girls. See, even that I think is probably false. It's not like boys don't have social pressure, but I want to be my daughter's biggest advocate. Right. Like if they're doing something annoying, whatever that thing is what everyone should now do because it's the coolest thing ever. That's the kind of thing I want to take with my daughters, but for some reason I don't know.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, that's not necessarily true though, I suppose. I'm trying to think.
I think I'm just kind of chewing on this right now. I haven't thought this all the way through, but I think, in a rightly ordered household, right? Mom, she nurtures, and mom's not the big time disciplinarian and all of these things. I think that's pretty typical. I think for boys especially, it's, oh my gosh, dad, I'm kind of scared of dad, even when I'm 16 years old, right? But I've got that respect with dad and I can go and have these deeper conversations. Mom is the one who I can go and brag about I just got this. I still call my mom on a regular basis, right? I talk to my mom probably every other day, right? And I if I get a raise at work or I do something really good and get some accolades, and I know I can't go pronounce this I need to be humble about this, but I can call my mom and I can just chit chat with her and she'll say, "Oh, that's great. Of course you did great. Oh my gosh." Right. And I feel like dads sort of play that role with their daughters in a way. But I don't know if that's true. That's just me sort of spitballing.
Yeah. I want to tell people to go check out exodus90.com, because this is something you and I did, and this is something that I'm hearing all around the world, quite honestly, that's actually changing men's lives. One quick example, I was recently in Transylvania, which, because I'm ignorant, thought that just existed in a Dracula book, and having men tell me that it changed their life, and in all sincerity. If you're a fella watching this right now and you want to live a better life, if you don't want to be soft. You don't just want to choose the easy thing. You are struggling with an addiction to your phone or something like that. You're afraid that you won't be the kind of husband that your wife does deserve. Go check out exodus90.com. Because the way it works is you join, /Matt. exodus90.com/Matt. You can join a group of men. I think you can even do it at a distance now. They've got this excellent app that enables you to, let's say one of your best mates is at college or something, you can join with him over the course of 90 days. They have other shorter programs as well. Pray every day, fast every day, take cold showers every day. It is such a cool masculine thing to do, and I would highly recommend people checking it out. Exodus90.com/Matt. Do you have boys in your school who do that?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, every year we have a big group of
What a
kids who do
cool
it.
thing.
And we have a big group too that does, they call it Exodus 40, where they just
Yeah.
do the exercises during Lent for the
Yep,
whole
yep,
Lent.
yep. I know they have a bunch of exercises. Like they have something coming up right now for July specifically. In our July exercise, we will be focusing on the type of men God calls us to be as we grow in reverence to the most holy Eucharist. Being Eucharistic men entails being transformed into free men capable of loving God and neighbor, etc., etc.
I think that if you stripped out all the theology from it, it would still be worth doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's hard. Right? Just
Yeah.
because it's good to do hard things.
Yep.
Self-mastery is something, it's JFK, right? Talking about going to the moon. We're going to do this because it is hard. Right?
Yeah.
And what a beautiful thing that we ought to do. We ought to take on this thing.
Great line from St. Dominic, which you've heard before. Either man governs his passions or he becomes enslaved by them. It is better to be a hammer than an anvil. And for those of us who don't govern our passions,
Right.
we spend our days being hammered by our passions, and we call it freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Like I masturbate, and I drink too much, and I eat too much, and I don't get up at a decent hour, and I don't exercise, and you say you're free, not realizing that you're being led around by your nose, by your passions, and you're actually not free. I said this to you after we did these sauna cold plunges, and again, poor man's cold plunge. This is how you do it, right?
it's killer.
Poor man's cold. So you get a horse trough. That's what that was from Rural King. Last night, I put 10 frozen jugs of water in the water to chill it for this morning. And this morning, I got 7 gigantic bags of ice and dumped it in there. And that was brutal. Like, it was really brutal. But there's something cool about telling your body, and of course you are your body, but like telling your lower self,
Right.
I don't care if you don't want to do this. You are going to, I'm throwing you in this ice bath.
Yep.
And to quote Joe Rogan, I love that line, the hardest thing you do is the hardest thing you'll do. Meaning, if the hardest thing you do is parallel parking, you're going to have a really difficult life.
Well, what's interesting about sort of regulating the passions, and I don't know if this was your experience, it was definitely mine. When I was a young man, when I was in college, we used to just do the hard thing because every time it snowed at my school, we went swimming. That was like the thing. It's snowing, time to go swimming. It's going to be awful, but we're going to do this. And we're all sort of in this sort of tribal group mentality of like, we are men do men things. And then you get older, right? And your passions temper in a good way, right? To some extent. We read that in my my ancient history class. We were reading Socrates and Caiaphas, maybe, but he's talking about what's great about being old, right? All the merits of old age.
The Republic. Plato's Republic. They talk about that, where he talks about now that he's older, he's not driven around
Exactly.
with the sexual urge.
And that's positive, right? Especially from like a pornography standpoint or the sexual. But also there's a part of it where that you feel like you've earned the right not to constantly have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
But it's really good to change that from no, you don't have to prove yourself to other people anymore, but you still like prove it to yourself, right? Be that man because it's good to be that man. You don't have to do these big public displays of, climbing the cliff face or going in the freezing river or whatever. But it's still good to remind yourself I can do these things that are really, really hard. Yeah.
It's almost like Exodus 90 may not exist, wouldn't have existed, didn't exist 1,000 years ago when people were doing the hard things.
Yeah.
It's almost like a symptom of our cushy society that we are the ones crying out to live a more difficult life.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. The idea that we're trying, that now all these things that our ancestors would have avoided because life was already the series of trials, like pretty serious trials.
Like we're
now,
begging for it.
We live in this opulent comfort all the time. Yeah.
All right. What's one good movie you've watched recently?
I had a boys' movie night with my son not too long ago, and we watched Unforgiven. The first time he's ever watched Unforgiven.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did you feel with him sitting through those scenes with the prostitutes and things?
So I pulled it up and I read through because it's been a while since I had seen it. I actually recommended it to you.
You did, and
right?
I watched it.
Isn't it a great movie?
Yeah.
And
Fear's got nothing to do with it. Great line.
So good. Now I'm going to kill you, little Bill. I talk about this a lot, right? I am not super concerned with violence or language with my kids, right? I mean, like not on a personal level. I'm not violent and cursing out my kids.
I swear at them while I hit them.
but in movies,
that is what I mean.
The sexuality stuff that really, really bothers me. And so I think we started the movie like 5 minutes late. Like I just skipped a few minutes because there's the scene in the brothel in the beginning, and there's no nudity in there. But I just explained to Henry those girls were prostitutes, and he cut one of them really bad, he hurt one really bad for no reason, and that's why they're going to get this bounty hunter. Yeah. So I watched Unforgiven. In terms of like good movies, like movies with like because I really like Unforgiven. There's not like a really great message though. You know what I mean? It's sort
Yeah.
of like a Cormac McCarthy novel in a
Yeah.
lot of ways. Like in the end, the bad guy just kills all the other bad guys, and then he goes back into the pig farmer, which is good in and of itself that he killed the bad guys. I'm trying to think of like a good. Do you have any recent?
I watched the Lord of the Rings trilogy with my son again recently.
That's cheating. That answer's cheating though.
Yeah, but it's worth rewatching. Like sometimes it's worth just giving up on all entertainment and just going back to the one thing that you know works
Over and over again.
Yeah.
We've just removed the TV from
Good for you.
from our, we still have it, but it's like tucked away in a back room, and it has to be a production of taking the television
Good.
out
Yeah.
for a movie.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
kind
because
of cool.
there is something beautiful about sitting with your kids. So we watch Little House on the Prairie a lot.
Oh, I love
And
Little
there's
House.
something
Yeah.
beautiful about sitting with your kids. It's like it's really what it is an excuse to sit close with your arm around your child.
Right.
Now, of course, you can do that through other ways, but reading a book or something.
That's something I try to do really purposefully during Mass. It's like I always like, because I have 5 kids, and so it's whatever. And it's, I don't want to be distracted, but it's like, this is an opportunity. We're sitting here for an hour, and you can sit in my lap, and I'll put my arm around you, and I'll put my arm around you while holding your hand. I've kind of like got like a structure where I can get to almost all of them all the time. Yeah.
Sips with Sarah. Sounds like maybe someone got an idea from a different podcast called Pints with Aquinas.
Oh, I
wonder if this is I wonder if it's actually a YouTube channel. I'm going to actually look it up right now, and in the process give him a massive shout out if it isn't. Sips with Sarah. There you go. Sips with Sarah. Feel free to go check it out. I mean, the fact that he's supposed to be on Locals means he's an amazing human being.
Obviously,
and
yeah.
everything he says should be trusted and not criticized. Sips with Sarah. Go follow him on YouTube. He says, what are the boundaries when it comes to evangelizing to children of close friends and family? Obviously, we want them to know about the faith, but also don't want to disrespect the role of their parents. That's a good point. Yeah, and then just bring the mic to you. Yeah, nice.
So
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'll tell you how you probably shouldn't do it. I had a
just do
that's
it
great.
for
I'll
you.
just keep my feet up. You just roll me around. Thanks, buddy. Who baptized the Jewish twins that she was babysitting in college? Probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably
Probably not.
past the line.
And the reason it's crossed the line is not because you don't want them to be baptized, but
no.
now there's kind of duties and
That
responsibilities
you
for
have
those children that
for I think I
Yeah.
would assume. No, that's good. So I guess is the question. Is it?
Well, think about like you're on the you're on the playground, or the kids are talking, or you have a friend come over to your house, hang out with your friend, and his parents aren't Christian or something. And how do you kind of evangelize without crossing the line? I suppose.
I don't know. I think you're happy and honest. I think that's the key to evangelization in general.
Yeah.
I'm going to the beach with my family. A lot of them are not in the church, right? And I'm not going to sit down next to my like atheist relative and say, can we really like do a deep dive? Like, can we just pray together for a minute? That would be imprudent and would get us nowhere. But what we are going to do is we are going to go to Mass, and we are going to pray our rosary at night, and we're going to do all of our Catholic-y things, and we're going to be in a good mood. And if anybody asks us about it, we're going to be honest. I think the real answer is you evangelize your friends, not their kids.
Yeah, but I think one thing you can do with your family is to invite their friends, if they're around, into this cool Catholic thing that you're doing.
Yes.
Like, you don't have to like say you need to be doing this. But you say, oh yeah, we always pray at the end of the night. We'd love you to join us. Do you want to join us? You don't have to. You do? Cool. It'd be great to have you.
You always do the night prayer, and I've been in your house when lots of other people were
Yeah.
around and
Yeah.
who were not Catholic, and he said, we're going to do night prayer. Do you guys
Yeah,
want
you want
to
to
join
join
us?
us?
for night prayer?
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah, because you're not shaming them. You're not telling them this is what you should be doing. I mean, there might be a time to say something like that, but it's just in the context of friendship. We do this weird Catholic thing. We'd love to have you do it. And even to say it like that, if you think they're going to find it awkward, yeah, it's kind of awkward Catholic thing, but we'd love to have you do it.
Right.
Because I find that, like big families are usually the envy of single children. Like that's where the cool stuff's taking place in town.
Right.
They want to be part of it. Oh man, alive!
We have the reason we pray our family rosary and have for however many years now is because we had a really big family invite us over for dinner, and then they said before we left, "You guys want to pray a rosary with us?" We're like, "Yeah." We did some night prayer routine, but it wasn't good. It wasn't that good. It wasn't a full rosary, and they had 9 kids at the time. They have 11 kids now, and it was just chaos. Like, people were falling off couches and like running around and whatever, and they made no apologies for it.
Yeah.
And the kids would be like, I want to do that. It's my decade. I want to do that decade. And they would come in and they would butcher it and get half the, get things out of order because they were 4, right? And on the way home, we're like, oh, we can do that. Like, we can do
we
that.
can definitely do that.
Yeah.
Grilled asks, is 18 too young to marry? It seems that waiting to mature is silly because the way the world is ordered right now is not ordered towards maturity. Maybe marriage will mature you. So is 18 too young to marry, he's asking.
I think that goes back to our conversation from earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like 18 shouldn't be too young to marry. It's not, I don't think that there's a moral issue with it. I think there's just a practical issue with it, right? Especially as a man, you know, you should be able to provide for your spouse, and chances are you're right out of high school, and maybe you're going to college, maybe you're in trade school or something to better yourself and get into a position. I hold that really firm line of, like, if the church says you're old enough to get married, you're probably old enough to get married, but you do need to take into the practical considerations.
Yeah.
We have good friends who got married when they were 20 in college. And they're doing great. He dropped out of college and went to flight school and did all this cool stuff, and now he's doing great and able to support his wife and kids.
You were 20, how much? 21?
I was 21.
Good for you. I was 23.
Yeah.
I sometimes do this thought experiment. I've shared it on the show before. I have this thought experiment that helps me really appreciate my wife. Sometimes when we're hanging out or we're going on a date, in my head, I'll think, imagine if you weren't me, I'm talking to myself, imagine if you weren't manly enough to quit your job and move countries and marry her when you did.
Right.
And your lives just separated. And then only now, because you're both single, you're kind of getting together and you're going on this first date now that you're both like in your 40s.
I like it a lot.
I think that, and I want to cry because that's one of my 8 reasons you're allowed to cry.
Only 7.
And I think, gosh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad we grew up together.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do think that's ultimately what it comes down to, right, is growing up together, right? And you're not ready. Nobody's ever ready to get married, right? That's cliche, but that's true. Why build these separate lives and then try to merge them together when you can just...
If you don't have to.
Right. You can start your lives together. I think that's beautiful. I'm so glad we did it.
Max says, I got a good laugh from John Henry's list of reasons to cry, but I think Matt shouldn't feel unmanly for crying frequently.
As long as it's on the list.
As long as it's on the list. Otherwise, he should be deeply ashamed. But now that, see, I was afraid only until you said that the tearing up's different. The few times I have been able to cry in the past few years have been a mercy. As a Protestant guy learning about Catholicism, I was overwhelmed and wept listening to Christopher West talk about the Eucharist, and I was choked back with tears. That's beautiful.
I mean,
you would add that to the list.
I said first time receiving the sacraments, for sure. That's on there.
Yeah.
And he said he was choking back tears, which to me sounds more like the tearing up. Yeah.
All right. And then someone says,
I feel like I have to publicly say, like, it's a joke, guys. If you cry, it's okay. You can cry whenever you want as long as you go to the car and you turn on, like, Tim McGraw, Live Like You Were Dying, and you listen to that. Then it doesn't matter what you're crying about. As long as it's playing and you're in the car by yourself, you can bawl your eyes out.
You're crying over something you shouldn't be crying over, so you shoot your dog. And then it's okay. Yeah. Oh, that's not okay. Julian Saviano.
So
says, he'll tell you here in the comment, can John Henry share a little more about his radio podcast show? Full disclosure, I'm the producer of Honest to God Ministries, and I'm always getting on to him about promotions. By the way, thanks for having him on again. God bless.
I'm a terrible self-promoter. Don't follow me on anything. I don't have anything to follow me on. You can find a burner Instagram account that is in no way tied to my name that I use to vet kids and parents who are trying to come to the school and check their social media and see if there's a bunch of nastiness on it. So I don't really have a forum. I don't have a radio show either. I am the moderator of a show where really smart people come on and I ask them questions, right? But it's called Honest to God. We'll put it in the show notes. We're now syndicated, which is cool.
You know, I think just like we were saying earlier that not having tattoos is the new tattoos. I think having a radio show is the new podcast.
Oh, I like that.
It's like we're coming back where it's actually cooler to have a radio show than a podcast.
It's also available wherever you get your podcasts. Yeah.
Well, if you delete it, then it'll be cool.
No, but it's fun.
You can only live in the greater Atlanta area to hear this podcast. You have to move to hear it.
Only when the sun's out, too, because it's AM radio and weird stuff happens. No, it's fun. I really do like the show. I've gotten to meet a whole lot of people. The whole idea of the show is it's this sort of young adult ministry thing that happened in the wake of COVID. And it's a ministry because the show itself brings in all these people. And I talk for an hour, right, once a week or whatever, but we film a couple times a month, and you have a green room full of all these young people, and it's making all these connections. It's really cool.
A really cool concept.
I like it a lot
for a show. Okay, we have a question here from James and Anna Coffey, who I got to hang out with in Austria. Super beautiful couple with a beautiful baby. What's one piece of advice you would give to yourself as a young father?
one piece of advice I'd give to myself as a young father. I go back in time and I talk to me right after I had the baby, right? I think like chilling out is probably a big one.
Wow, that's funny. That's going to be mine.
Yeah, stop assuming that everything has got this massive impact. At the end of the day, you're supposed to, and not to neglect my relationship with my bride at that time when everything's about the baby, right? And even now, obviously, right? You gotta remember it because it feels like our primary vocation is raising our kids. And that's not our primary vocation. That's our secondary vocation. That's super important. But my primary vocation is my bride, right? And her soul. And it's so easy to neglect that because she's an adult. And it's so easy to get into this situation where it's like, oh no, we're business partners in the business of raising kids. And that could not be further from the truth, right? I know this sounds, I know how this sounds, and I'm going to say it. Neglecting your kids for the sake of your spouse is a good thing sometimes. Right? Often, like we've gotten to where we kick kids out of the room on a regular basis, and not just so we can have sex or something, right? But say like, no, I'm talking to your mother. I love you so much. Be secure in my love for you behind the closed door. Go close that door. Leave us alone. We just need to have time. We need to talk.
Yeah. I think it's important that your kids know that you love their mother almost more than them. Right. I mean, it's love in a different sense, but she is your priority over them because it was from your love that they came to be, and it's from your love that they'll continue to be sustained. Yeah. I mean, that was one of the best gifts that my father gave to me was that he loved my mum well. Right. You've heard me talk about that, I think. Gary Fradd. He would speak highly about her all the time. Out of nowhere. I remember this is my classic example. I was going to get a job as a lab technician in a copper mine in outback South Australia.
Hell yeah.
And it was a 4.5-hour drive through red dirt, dead kangaroos, and black trees. And
it's a cool band name.
Yeah. And I remember we weren't speaking. A half hour went by, we weren't talking. And out of nowhere, he just said, "She's a bloody good woman, your mother."
That's beautiful. Was he physically affectionate too?
Very.
That's great.
All the time.
I love that.
Even now, I went home to visit my mum and dad, and I'm chatting with my dad, who I love. He's sitting out on the veranda, and my mum comes out of the shower. She's got her nightie on, and she's got her towel, and he's like, "Come here, darling." And so she sits down on his lap, and he's
I love
he's drying her hair. He's always been like that. That was one of the best, and he probably didn't realize that was. I imagine even now, if you would have said to my dad, like, "What's some of the best things you've done for your son?" I don't even know if that would be on the list. Like, I don't even know if he was trying.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Always.
You just really
always pat your wife on the butt when she bends over.
Yeah,
that's
always.
really important.
Even when she asks you not to.
Especially then, actually. No, I do mean that kind of seriously. Right? I really like grossing out my kids with like kissing their mom
100%.
at the kitchen sink and Mary or my daughter going, "Ugh, gross." Like, yep, great, love it. Yeah. They're gonna remember all those ooh grosses and be so thankful for them one day. And it's okay, I think, if it's performative sometimes. It's okay if you think, oh, the kids are in the room. Angie's here. Okay, I'm gonna go do something.
Make out with it right now.
I'm gonna. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I've got one, but before I do that, since we've been talking about men and growing in masculinity, I want people to go check out a free 21-day course to break free from porn that I created. It's called strive21.com. Listen to me. It is 100% free. And over 77,000 men have gone through this course. It's a 21-day porn detox, strive21.com. It's basically like if I could sit down with you for 21 days over a coffee and we could chat, and it's sort of systematic. And over the course of those 21 days, I get into a whole bunch of stuff. But it's not just an isolated experience where you're watching videos of me. It's also 77,000 men who've been on this and who are commenting, going back and forth, offering help to each other. So if you're a fella and you want to be free of porn, there are no silver bullets. I'm not pretending that this is a silver bullet. They don't exist. So I'm not saying once you do this, hey, but I am saying it's an arrow in your quiver. Strive21.com, just for men. If you're a woman, go check out Magdala Ministries. That's a great apostolate for women struggling with porn. But strive21.com.
And if I can pitch something too, it's not free, but for $1,000 a month, you can go to strive22.com, and I'll follow you around and make sure you don't masturbate for 22 days. Everywhere you go, I'll be there. In
your bedroom, I'm there looking at you. I will not.
I will not break eye contact for 22 days. So something to consider. That might be a silver bullet.
Oh my gosh. Dude, there is someone watching who would pay for that.
Well, there's an extended version too, where after the 22 days is over for Strive 22, you continue to pay for another month. And I'm not always there, but I'm often there. You have to give me keys to your house, and you'll just be laying in bed, and all of a sudden the blinds in your closet will go down, and it'll be me. Yeah.
That actually sounds like it would be way more effective than what I've done. Why did I waste my time on this? Yeah, you go to the beach with your family, I'm there, trailing you. You are never allowed to talk to me, but I will never stop looking at you. You're not allowed to tell your wife who I am, why I'm there. Let's keep going. Let's keep riffing with it. What else? What else is part of Strive22.com?
That's all I got. I guess that has to be more than $1,000 a month, but yeah, make it worth my while. I got a lot of time off in December and over the summer, so let me know.
So, and I can see people be like, "Wait, okay, explain. What is your job again?" All right, here's what I do. The advice I would give to myself, because I wouldn't receive any of the advice that old Matt Fradd would give to young Matt Fradd. Like, I wouldn't know how to hear it. I would nod sagely as if I already understood what he meant.
100%, yeah.
So I think what I would do is you need to find friends. You need to plug into a community that can help support you. And you're exactly right, because when we get all uptight and we freak out about, oh my gosh, like my kid heard a bad word in a movie, now he's going to be a drug addict. One day, it's all my fault. What that does is you're so agitated living like that, do you actually make everything worse?
Right.
And it would be better for you if you could somehow care less about the things so that you could actually be more present with your family. I've said this to you before. I remember my son went over to a family's house who you know well. He used to be part of our men's group.
Sure.
And the father asked me, is it okay if Liam watches this show? And I looked it up, and there was like a joke about masturbation and something. I'm like, are you kidding? What the hell is wrong with you? No, of course not. And I didn't say it like that. But he wrote back, went, yeah. My wife said, oldest kid syndrome or something like that. And when he said that, I was actually like, no, it's because you don't care enough. Like I'm actually doing it right, and you're too exhausted now that you've had all your kids grow. But I actually think it's somewhere in the middle. I think as you get older, you realize that a lot of the fights that you were having didn't need to be fought. Sure. It's not that the parents are now too exhausted to care. It's more that they've learned what to care about.
That's what I was going to say. I think that it needs to be redirected, right? Yeah. From all of these sort of poppy self-help sort of ideas of what good parenting looks like. I think you can take those and throw them out, right? But there are things that matter, and that energy needs to be poured into. But when we would have something little, like you were saying, they saw a billboard for some adult store. I didn't shield my kid's eyes. Oh no, now he's going to be hopelessly addicted to hookers until the day he dies, right? Or some nonsense like that. And the community thing though, too. I think that's huge. I bought into the lie of the rugged American individualism, right? And I think I hate it. I really do hate it. I quote this a lot. I don't remember who said it. From an economic standpoint, capitalism is a Protestant heresy. Communism is a Catholic heresy, right? It's this idea that it's sort of this extreme of something that's good, right? Communism, the idea of living in community, that's a really good thing. It's a beautiful thing that the church teaches. There's this hierarchy, and we're sort of these little...
Take care of each other.
Yeah, that's great, right? And capitalism, right, is this perversion of this really good idea, that good, pure capitalism, right? I'm kind of anti-capitalist, but we don't need to get into that. Pure capitalism, this idea that you as the individual, you produce for you consume for you do all of these things. Both of those are disordered, and there's this beautiful golden mean. And with community, right, I had this idea, even when we were doing our first homestead, of I'm going to be totally self-sufficient and do all of the things. It's me and my family against the world, and that's not how we're made. That's not what we're supposed to do. We need that community. We need those good people around us. Yeah.
Well, I think we're done. This is fun.
All right.
This has been wonderful. I've had a great time.
Yeah, man. It's always a blast.
Thank you for being on the show. That's it. Bye.
Cool.
See ya.